hello. Welcome to Girls Run These World and the finale of our Mouse Ritter campaign, Mice in the Herb Garden. In a moment, I'll give you a little recap, but I'll just tell you a little bit about the system and then get our lovely characters to talk. So we'll be playing Mouse Ritter by Isaac Williams, which is a lovely little game, which you can also, as well as getting it in a physical copy, you can also go online and find a version on itch.io. And we're going to be playing some little mices in our finale. And just for your edification, content warning wise, we may have some little mousy deaths if things go the wrong way. We may have a mention of insects, magic, and peril and disaster. So do that with that information what you will. Next up, I should probably introduce myself, shouldn't I? I suppose, if I remember rightly. My name's Philippa Moore. I am going to be running the game, and our lovely players here are going to be playing some little mice. So I'm going to go around on my screen and ask you all to introduce yourselves. So first up, Ella, can you tell us who you are and who you will be playing, and what question should we do this time? I think we did favorite snack last time, so let's do if you were a mouse, where in the house would you like to have your nest? So Ella, go first, and everyone else has to say.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Hello. I'm Ella Watts. My pronouns are she, her, and I am playing a little chubby cider brewer mouse called Tabitha Thistle, whose pronouns are also she, her. If I was a mouse, where would I live in the house? Oh my gosh. So one of my favorite stories is The Tailor of Gloucester by Beatrix Potter, and it's about little mice who live in a tailor's shop, and they make themselves little clothes in the way that the tailor makes clothes with all the scrap pieces of fabric from his stuff. So I think as a result of that, I would want to live in like the kind of sideboard next to a tailor so that I could go out and get bits of fabric and then like sew little mousy outfits and stuff. Because I think that would be cute.
Very cute. Next up, I've got Angela.
Hello there, lovelies. It's absolute pleasure to be here for sadly one more time. I am Angela Lemos Mogrovejo. I use she, her pronouns, and I'll be playing Susie Fayhart, our delightfully feral librarian who has also apparently discovered prophecies and, is not going to consider herself an oracle, but she's not going to consider herself an oracle. Maybe in the back of her head, in her dreams, she's just going to add that to the list of I did good today. So that's her. If I were in a spot in the house, if I were a mouse, that's very cute rhyme. I'm thinking the little like thin strip between like a counter and a refrigerator, just have like
Oh
a little
yes.
mouse hole down there, because there's always a guarantee that I'll be getting fresh little bits of fruits, vegetables, and whatever falls from over the counter when people are cutting things. And I'm just
Your
like,
snack.
yeah, exactly. I always have snacks, and I can just always, if I need to cool down on a hot day, just be right next to the fridge. I'm also at risk if there's, the light goes out and something terrible happens in the household, but you live and you die.
I mean, that's what Susie would say for sure.
That's what I would say. Did you think Susie wasn't me?
Well, next up we have Rue.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her, and I play Elchie Morrow, whose pronouns are she, they. A plump little musician troubadour mouse that is all about causing menace, or otherwise known as helping. And oh God, where would I live as a mouse? I really want to say somewhere with food because that seems perfect. But I also like the idea of like living in the walls of like a library. There's something really cute about that. Like being able, and then also just the idea of keeping our canon that like we can read books just very slowly. The idea of my mouse just being like, I've read the title. Whew, what a week.
Oh, very cute. And last but not least, Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I use she, her pronouns, and today I'm playing Apple Fritter, who also uses she, her pronouns. Apple is a little blacksmith mouse. And I think if I were to live anywhere in a house as a mouse, I think I would just to be like an annoying pantry mouse. Like I would just live in the pantry and I would just eat Doritos, and that would be that would ruin everyone's day.
Excellent. I have cats in real life, and we have had little mices being brought in that have escaped, and we have had one under the fridge and one in the food cupboard before. So these are all very accurate. Anyway, so a quick recap from last time. Let me get my notes. So a lot happened, of course. I immediately can't find them. There we go. So you started out in the house and you talked with Saskia the cat, who you have discovered is, of course, Saskia the witch turned into a cat. And you had a little bit of a misunderstanding, but it was all sorted out. And you realized you needed to make a choice between, you only had enough of a clean potion sample to be able to give to one person, Merida or Saskia. So a little bit of a discussion later, you decided that perhaps Merida's contract with you to get the potion was perhaps null and void, given it was signed under the duress of being eaten. And that maybe, why did she want the potion anyway? Oh, Saskia told you that Merida also wants to turn into a human, but Saskia and the Ravens are very worried about what would happen if she did that, and they don't think she would use that magic responsibly and might bring attention and danger to the woods. You had a lovely, very cute rest at Basildon Hall, where you all leveled up. Susie brought out your new clarinet. Tabitha hosted a home-cooked meal at the Applewood Inn. It was very, very cute. You all fan-moused over lovage. And then you went to visit the ravens and the other birds at Raven's Roost, who showed you some prophecies. You saw the end of Susie's prophecy, which showed some possible futures of Basildon Hall maybe being flooded, but also Basildon Hall being saved by some adventurous mice. And then you also saw a second prophecy of the woods being possibly chopped down by humans who had discovered it, possibly due to either Merida or Saskia or someone else's interference and drawing attention to it. The future was blurry and unclear. You finished up, you were talked to by Captain Gould and the Sparrow Flying Corps, and offered the sparrows and the birds services to help stop Merida from getting access to the potion, particularly because the observatory mice have been trying to work out how to make the potion themselves. And we finished with you flying on the backs of the sparrows over towards the observatory log to try and pick up the potion to use against Merida, but you saw Merida was also running in that direction. And also, yes, the other thing you learned was you think it would be possible to sort of denature the potion that's polluting the river by adding charcoal to it to deactivate the rest of the log pile that you could maybe burn to get some charcoal and scatter it in the river, although how easy that will be, we shall have to see. So that's everything you got up to last time. Lots and lots of exciting stuff, which leads us to more exciting things. So I think we should first head over to the world map. Well, the area map, not the world. It's not that big of an area really, but you are very small mice. And so and get rid of this other thing don't need. There we go. Sorry, excuse me. So on the map, we've got you were over by the ravens and you'd flown over the river high above. You've traveled around here in many different ways now, but you did see Saskia running over from the flower meadow towards the observatory log. So a few little things about how this will work now. So the sparrows count as a warband scale group of creatures. There are enough of you with the sparrows to make up a small warband, which normally start with, we'll roll their HP, and they have 10 strength, 10 dex, 10 will generally. Our sparrows have that as well. How about Ella? Would you mind rolling as a d6 and we'll see how much health your warband has?
Oh no, now I'm responsible for this. Oh god, okay. I got a 5.
Oh, very nice.
You're responsible for this now.
Oh god, why would you say that, Angela? Don't give me this. Whew. I can hear the Mission Impossible music in my head as we're racing Merida to the
And what I will say is warbands act very similarly to how you can act in combat, which is that combat doesn't have to be combat. You can do an action each turn. It doesn't have to be attack, but if you do attack, it will hit. Similarly, if the others attack, they will hit you unless you're out of reach. So you don't have to, like, just because I'm giving this to you, I will remind you, of course, does not mean you actually have to immediately be like, time to kill Merida. You can do some other things as well, just to reiterate. And yeah, so, but for now, also, I think the way this will work is for now, we'll kind of take it in turns for you to kind of take decisions a bit about the warband because you're kind of all flying. But obviously, if you find any more creatures and split off, then you'll have a little bit more control individually. You could also choose to maybe like one of you controls the warband and the other three of you have your own sparrows to fly and do individual actions. We'll see how it works in the narrative as depending on what you do. But yeah, so you were flying, you were about to get to the observatory, flying above the forest. You see those nettles and trees that you're now quite high up as well. You realize seeing the ground far below you, and then you see, yes, Merida running her way towards the observatory log. And you do see there are two mice standing. Do you remember there was the little ladder out the top of the log, hurriedly climbing down the ladder and pulling a hatch down as well, battered in. But yeah, so you're all flying on your sparrows. You have a moment to talk before anything happens. What do you all do?
I think I've got a thought, an idea, and I'd like to am I is are we all on different birds, like a Susie Apple and Elchie are different? Okay. So I think that what's happening, as we know, Tabitha is not a great fan of the sky, but so she keeps going between like shutting her eyes and then being like, no, this is so much worse because now like my stomach is doing somersaults and I don't know what's happening, so I gotta open my eyes again. So she's got her eyes kind of open and she's, you know, gripping onto this poor sparrow. I'm a little bit worried about the injuries on this sparrow when we get off because it's like squeezing a hand in a hospital kind of thing. But seeing the observatory mice running down the ladder, she's going to shout across to Susie, Susie, do you know anything about semaphore? Because maybe we can like wave a flag or something at them to show them that we mean them no harm. Because, you know, if I saw a lot of birds coming towards me very fast, I would also think that perhaps, you know, hell was empty and all the devils were here. So I can see why they are concerned. But, you know, maybe we should flap some fabric or something.
I hope somebody clips that, just that little bit. If nothing else from this session, I just want the statement of hell has been released with all of the devils out of it to be in a clip. Thank God. I think Susie immediately is like, she immediately goes to the thought of like, okay, if we do something like peaceful or like surrender, maybe that would indicate we are not coming with anything like dangerous, despite being on the birds. Would this be a Susie thing? Yeah, this would be a Susie thing, I think. They gave me back the piece of the prophecy, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. She I still have torches. I'm not going to light said torch, but she is just going to rip whatever the prophecy is and just tie it around the edge of the torch and just start waving it as best she can. It probably ruins the prophecy in terms of like its stability, but she's like, we mean you no harm, friends. We come with the angels from the sky.
Okay, so I think you hear down below Merida shouting, sort of trying to shout over you, basically saying, remember our contract and I won't eat you at the observatory mice. So I think what we're going to do is the observatory mice are going to make a will save. And if they fail, they're going to be more likely to listen to Merida. And if they succeed, because I think what you said, they will be like, no, we can rally around you. So their will is a 10. So it's pretty even whether they do or not. So let's see. It's a 13. Very unlucky for us, unfortunately. So you see they keep battening down the hatches. They keep looking very nervous. You see Percival, the head scholar, was the last one to button it down. And for now, it looks like basically they're not coming to you. They're not going to listen to you, but they're also still trying to stay away from Merida. But yeah, you get the indication that they are not willing to risk it, basically, at the moment.
I think Susie then turns back to Tabitha and says, "It would appear as though words alone will not provide adequate inspiration. I believe we must let loose the sparrows of war in order to allow us to gain some traction in terms of convincing them of our argument."
I don't think that we should jump to aerial assault. I think that is a disproportionate response.
Apple's already holding like a cannonball. Like,
no.
What?
Apple, in times of disaster, we must not turn on our fellow mouse. We must instead focus on the real threat, which is the fox that wants to destroy our forest.
This is for the fox.
Okay, good. They were mixing. There's a lot going on right now. We shouldn't be this high up. So I think, Susie says something about like surrender not working. I mean, I this does raise a question of like, we are running out of, sorry, to table talk for a second. Slow-mo in the scene as we like
We turn to look at each other on the birds
like... if the observatory mice are going to fight us, we're going to lose valuable time. We don't have that much time whilst Merida is also racing, especially to get the potion. And it seems like a waste of time for us to just fight the observatory mice when they're not even the people that we really want to fight. So maybe we should...
Maybe we could... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just thinking maybe we could try to scare Merida off a little bit. Like we did with the pheasant. And maybe if she thinks that we're something of a threat and she's not directly here, the observatory mice don't really like Merida. They just feel like she's their only option. So if we can get her away, then we could maybe talk to them. But yeah, I don't know.
That seems like an excellent idea. And wait, okay, no. We should do this in character.
Yeah.
So, slow-mo speeds up again.
Yeah.
I think Apple just calls over like, "Remember the pheasant," and is like still holding like the cannonball that we have.
Okay.
to convey that.
In that case, I'm gonna turn to Elchi and Azalea, who is also presumably on a sparrow. And I would say,
yeah.
Elchi, Azalea, if there was ever a time, the time is now. We need fireworks. It's time for distraction.
Elchi's just like, my time to shine. She looks so determined. I don't think she says anything out loud. She's just like, yes, I'm gonna dive bomb this bird.
Okay, so I think because you're starting to take some actions, we're gonna go into rounds combat. So we've done this before, so you're gonna be doing a dex save, and this tells you if you go before or after the opponents, so Merida in this case, and the observatory might also see where they go as well. So let me know what you get.
I failed the dex save, so I will go after.
It's a dex save for all of us to see what to determine order.
Yeah.
I also failed 12/7.
Also failed.
Okay.
I got a 3, so I succeeded.
Our main distraction has succeeded.
Let's see about the observatory mice. What are they getting up to? Ooh, they also succeeded. Cool. Okay. Secret other animal.
The pheasant.
Here in the woods in the distance.
Oh no.
I still can't do a pheasant sound, so I won't. Okay, so at this point, I want to ask who is in control of the warband, because if some of you are peeling off to kind of distract, I think therefore Elchie and Susie maybe will let you do your actions as individuals. But maybe Tabitha or Apple is controlling the warband.
Um, I would like to say not, because I've got matches and I want to see if at some point I can peel off to go start that fire to get the charcoal. I also just realized that I forgot to roll for Azalea, and I'm glad that I checked because she actually succeeded. She's got 10 decks and she got a 7. So she can also distract with Elchie if there's space for that.
Sure.
I think honestly, Rue, she will probably just follow your lead. So whatever you want to be done, you'll have an extra pair of hands.
Taylor, are you okay with Apple
Yeah, I'm fine
doing
with
some
that.
warband stuff?
Yeah.
So it's in the sorry, audience, one moment. It's in either the Discord, or if you want to go on the Google Drive, the information is also on the information
Nice,
sheet.
cool. I
Whichever
got
you
it.
prefer. Cool. Okay, so actually we won't put as the first person. We'll put Elchie was the first main character to do it, so we'll pop. My sheet's very busy. There we go. Okay, Elchie, you're up first. So you can do one action thing.
Gotcha. Okay. And are we wanting to just like drop the bombs and things that we have onto, or like nearby Merida? I don't know if we were like actually trying to attack her, but
I do have a question maybe related to that. So I know that the warband basically works that like non-warband damage doesn't do anything to a warband scale creature.
Unless it is substantial.
So
Right.
I guess the question is, would would the explosives and cannonballs be considered substantial?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do indeed act as substantial damage.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, your
cool.
individual attack would not.
Yeah.
A big
That
old
makes sense.
acorn bomb would.
Got it.
I've just
Okay.
drawn little circles on it. The orange one is Merida, the grey one are the observatory mice. So Merida is like moving around. So she's about there at the moment, just so you know.
Okay. I'm trying to think what would be the best way to do this. I think Elchie is gonna try to swoop in pretty close to Merida and then drop the acorn bomb so that it like feels like a bigger threat. Even though it does kind of put us in the way of harm if she's like, get this bird away from me. And I think she'll kind of direct Azalea to do similar, but like from a further up distance. So she's like, I'll go in like with the direct attack, and Azalea, you're gonna go in as kind of like the side support attack, and together we're gonna take Merida down or scare her, probably.
Cool. So you dive bomb down with your sparrow, who I believe your sparrow was Paulson, so they're like, yes, let's go, woohoo! Meow. And yeah, so roll your damage on your acorn bomb and tick it off that you've used it.
And then what am I rolling for the acorn bomb? Just
I believe it's a D20.
Ooh, okay.
Which is swingy, but could go very well.
Okay, I got a 14 on that.
Very nice. Okay.
Yay. Thank goodness. It was like on 5 or something for a second before it turned. I was like, please.
Wow. So yeah, you see it, and like maybe for like a moment it looks like it lands and isn't going to do anything, and then it just is like as the the top twists in, and this like acidic oak ink goes all over Merida's face, and she's like and yeah, goes into her snout, and she's like and like wiping it to get it off, like, and yeah, she looks like it's like sort of singeing her whiskers a lot, and she's not happy. She's not feeling good. Screeches to a halt.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I add one little thing that as like
course.
Elchie kind of zooms by, she's like, the skies are attacking you, Merida. They know what you've done.
Yeah, it's sort of flown in
Zooms away.
almost at, like, she's kind of seen the flock of birds, but like maybe you came from behind, so she's like, okay. Next, the observatory mice. For their action, you see the top of the log, the little trapdoor is flung open again. But instead of a mouse, you see a little catapult being winched up and into position. But I think that takes them their turn. But yeah, you see a little catapult being loaded with what looks like glass bottles filled with something. And yeah, is winched into position, ready to fire next round. Then it is Azealia.
I mean, I think she's doing exactly what like Elchie told her to do. Azalea is a follower rather than a leader these days. You know, I think that she finds it too much effort to come up with her own plans. But also, I mean, Philippa, I don't want to push back on you, but you've been the voice of Azalea this whole time, and I kind of want to hear your interpretation of what she's doing. But I realize you've got a lot to do, so if you'd like me to do,
No,
like,
that's fine. It's up to you because she's your, Azealia is Tabitha's companion. So it's very up to you if you want me to voice her or not, basically.
I mean, you're her voice in my head.
Okay, in that case, Azealia gripping the sparrow. So you've told her to try and distract Merida in various ways. So I think she's heard the talk of the pheasant. So Azealia is going to fly off towards the sound of the pheasant. I'm not sure if I don't think Azealia had an acorn bomb. So she's kind of like gathering little sticks as she flies past, like to sort of like try and throw down to guide the pheasant. So she's kind of banked off into the forest. And then you hear from the distance, like, found it! And then, so that'll be coming to fruition next round. Okay, so that was Azealia. Whee! Off into the distance. And then it's Merida. Covered in oak ink. She's looking very unhappy. I think she... Now, so she only has one action as well. So she could attack or she could carry on trying to do what she's trying to do. I think seeing the catapult, she's like, yes, throw it at me, throw me the potion, she says to the observatory mice, and then turns and she's going to try and bat at you, Elchie, and your sparrow. What is her?
Stay away from me.
And how this is going to work is, I think I put the stats for the sparrows individually last time. So like it's going to kind of go onto the sparrow first, but then obviously if the sparrow gets hurt, you're both going to fall. Attack. Yeah, I think because you're swooping down, she's going to jump up and try and bite at you. Oof. 4, 7. And
no.
the sparrows, I don't think that's very good for your sparrow.
No, it has,
I believe,
6 HP.
Yep. So gonna need to do a what is the word? A save. Because you've gone into your strength against the critical damage. I believe it's a strength save. Do you have they should be on the info page, I think.
Yeah. Do you want me to roll for the sparrow?
Yeah, if you could do with a sparrow, yeah.
Got it. And then, sorry, that's a D20 I'm rolling, or
yeah. So you're trying to do a strength save, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I got a 5, and their strength is 6.
Whew, good. Okay, so great, they're fine. They can keep going. So just tick off that, and you're into the strength damage as well. So keep track of that. But yeah, they're like, oh, and Merida like bites at their wing, and they're like, oh, and they fly out of reach, and they say to you, Elchie, they're like, oh, that was I did not like that. I think I've lost quite a few wing feathers. Shall we retreat and come back around for another go?
Yeah, let's like I think Elchie looks back and is like, it's a little bit more than a couple of wing feathers, but they're like,
Yeah, it's like one whole wing's like,
yeah, it's just a couple of wing feathers as they're like kind of trying to pat around it. Like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna say what it really is for now.
Yeah.
Let's just get to a safe place.
flesh wound. It's fine. Yeah. Okay, so that was Merida. Apple. So you're with the warband. So you see this happen. You're with the rest of the sparrows. You can command them to do what you like.
Does it? I feel like. Okay, so Merida said, "Fling the potion at me," and we can see the catapult has glass bottles in it.
You can indeed see that. Yes.
So I think I'm going to say that the warband. I think Apple is like, we have to disable the catapult. We don't want to hurt the mice in the observatory, but we have to disable that catapult. And is like kind of pointing and like leaning down to the sparrow that she's riding on to see if the warband can do that, since that seems pretty imminently bad if that happens. Yeah, so what would you like me to do?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the catapult some HP. They don't have any strength or anything, so once it's done, it's done. Do you want to roll me a d6? Let's see how much.
Yes. All right. 4 is what I rolled.
Cool. Okay, so it has 4 HP as an object. So yeah, you can then attack it. The sparrows can fly down and claw at it, and yeah, you can all swoop down as a bunch and try and dismantle this.
Cool. So I'll just roll a d6 then to try to see if I can do that much damage, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking this is not a warband, and you are, so this would be enhanced, I think. So it'd be a d12.
Okay, d12, cool. I won't argue
I'll
with
be
that.
kind because that's how it works. So
5 on a d12.
Great. Little part.
I set it up and I knock it down.
Tell me if this is too mean, but
I think you
do
should
you
be a
think
little
it would
mean.
be fun if, as it's being pulled apart, that potion goes poof, and you need to make a dex save to not get any on those sparrows?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
So use the sparrow warband. So their dex is 11.
Cool. 19.
Okay. Oh, fail. Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. I get to use my potion table.
You have a potion table?
I do. In fact, I have 2 potion tables on odds and evens. So I'm just gonna see. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So they've been working on lots of different potions. Some of them have been, they're trying to back engineer that spell that turns Saskia into a human or a cat. They've also been working on some other stuff as well. So Taylor, can you roll me a d6 and we'll see what happens?
Uh-huh. A 1.
A 1. Oh, interesting. Okay, sorry. Roll me another one because
okay.
Nothing technically happens on that one.
Okay, 3.
3. As the group fly away from dismantling the catapult, you see, let's say about half the sparrows have been splashed by this potion kind of exploding everywhere. And you see that their little bird wings start to sort of mutate and turn into paws, and they plummet down and start to grow as they turn into cats.
So much worse.
I think Apple's just kind of looking around and is like, I think this is either temporary or we can fix it, but Paws are nice. You may have heard something different from people, but you can use them really easily and really well.
Roll me another d6 and we'll see how long they stay as a cat.
Okay. 3 again.
Okay, so they're going to be staying as a cat for 3 rounds.
Cats are
And
big and strong. I know this is a change,
Yeah.
but I think this can be good.
I've just rolled, I think 2 of them have turned into cats out of your warband. So your warband's still together, but these 2 have just gone like, "Huh," and they're going to be like, "Ah."
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Excellent. Right. Tabitha, you see this happen. Meow. 2 birds turn into cats.
I knew that the birds contained a seed of evil all of this time. They had the potential, feline potential. Oh, never trust a winged beast. Anyway, it was just kind of pat the sparrow that I'm on and say nothing personal. It's just I think I'm developing a deep mistrust of anything that flies. I would like to. I think that Tabitha is thinking a lot about how we're going to need that charcoal. But right now, what I'd like to do... Oh, yeah, but I think it'll be really difficult, so it might not work, but let's try. I've got my pot of bright paint, my glow-in-the-dark phosphorus paint. What I would like to try and do is dive bomb with my sparrow and throw that paint on Merida's eyes, because that would be helpful. My dex is not great. So we're gonna see whether that works, but I'd like to try.
Well, you are on a sparrow, so you can use the sparrow's dex.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I think this is risky. You're flying down, you got to try and get it just on her, not on yourself, wind direction, etc. So yeah, I think this will be a dex save. But yeah, you can use the sparrow's dex because they're kind of controlling the flight. So
okay. Ooh, let's see. It's it. I got a 7 under a 10. Yeah.
Nice. Great. Yeah, you fly down, you've got the little pot ready, and she's already covered in ink. She's like, she's got feathers in her mouth now, and then the paint gets on her, the feathers get stuck to the paint. She can't see anything. She's just like,
I want to say, like, as we kind of zoom down and then zoom up and away again, Tabitha's gonna shout quite crossly, "This is what they refer to as being tarred and feathered."
Very good. And I think mark, because you succeeded, just mark 1 usage on the paint. Okay. Next up we have Susie on your sparrow.
I have a rather ridiculous thought. First off, if you hear any pounding in the background, my apologies. People are working in my building again right as we start stream, because that's how that works. Is there any way that Susie could make an appeal to the mice?
Yes.
To like, now is your chance. This is your opportunity to turn on her. You're not going to get another chance like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What would be the best way to do this? Maybe an opposed will save? No, just you make us a will save and we'll see if they... Well, actually, no. First of all, before I make you do saves, because that's for risky ones, tell us what you try and say to them broadly or precisely, however you prefer, and we'll see how they feel about it. Because they're currently kind of on the fence.
Like, I think she has the sparrow fly down and she says, "My mousekin, please hearken to my call. You must listen. I know you are afraid. I know you have lived in terror and in fear in the presence of this terrible person, this horrendous beast that threatens quite substantially with size and claw and fang. But look at what she is making you become. You have become rote machines, forced to endure this existence that is not your own. You are not machines. You are not mere cattle to be used for other purposes. You are mice. Rise up, my friends. Remember, in the name of liberty, in the name of mouse democracy, in the name of mouse free expression and thought, Rise up against your fox overlord and rejoice.
I love it.
That is her appeal.
Okay, I think you see. So the mice you see at the top, who've also sort of fallen down after the catapult incident, fallen back. You see them all getting up. They're listening, and everyone apart from Perseal seems pretty keen. You see the little new mouse Bree Wheelborn. You see Borage, and they're like, yeah, yeah. And Perseal's like, no, we can't possibly. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. And then you see Bree just like shoves Perseal back down the ladder and is like, get back inside then. We're taking over from here. And like slams the lower inner trapdoor and is like, go inside, Perseal, and we'll see you afterwards. And they're like, yeah. So I think you've got the observatory mice on side. So, Angela, a question for you. Would you like control of the observatory mice as a warband, or do you want to keep control of yourself and have them act separately?
When the duty of leadership falls to an individual, they must not run away from said responsibility. I will take control of the warband of my fellow nerds.
Excellent. Okay. Let me just pop some info for you. Sorry, everyone, just redacting some info. There we go. Okay, so that's your info for the observatory mice. Roll the d6 for us at sea. Oh wait, no, I already did it. They only have 1 HP. I rolled
Makes
their
sense.
health,
They're terrified as shit.
They're very small and very delicate. They do have 10 strength, so they're not completely weedy. But yeah, so their actions are you can either have them like come out and attack with little spears, or you can choose for them to like throw a potion, and they can throw some potions and things. And we'll roll and see what the potion does.
Random question.
Okay.
Do they have any beneficial potions they could happen to chuck up our way? Can I just like dive bomb, grab a potion that they chuck at me?
Yeah, I think if what we'll do, I'm just thinking how would that work best. If
you can say
some
no,
of them,
I'm okay with no.
Well, no, because they do have some potions that would be useful to you. So they have like 2 little separate sections, which is what the odds and evens are for. And so one of them does like they say these ones are pretty like explosive. They do some damage if we throw them. Sometimes other weird stuff happens. And then the other pile is the one that they like, these turn you into different animals we've discovered, but we're not sure which one is which. So that's your options basically. So they could, if you wanted for their action and yours is that they could like pass it to you for you to then throw, or they can just throw them all. It's the option. So that sounds good. But before that, we'll cycle back around. You hear the the pheasant running out of the woods.
Oh no, I forgot about the pheasant.
And you see Azealia behind like, whee! Oh, the sparrow. And yeah, the pheasant is going to crash in from the woods over here. They crash through some of the log. And I think what they're going to do is just run around and get in the way quite a lot and sort of cause a bit of chaos. And so how many people do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see who they crash towards. Susie, the peasant crashes towards you and the observatory mice, and crashes into the observatory for 2 damage. So observatory mice only have 1 HP, so they're going to need to roll to see if they need to be rallied. Do you want to do that? So that's their
Yep.
Actually no, hang on, sorry, let me double check that. Is that
Does my speech
do
allow
that
me
right
to
as well?
just win over them again? I'll do another one if I have to.
Yeah. Okay, so crit damage. Yeah, so you're going to do a will save. No, a strength save, excuse me, on this crit damage. Just to
Whose
see.
stats would I use for the will save? Would it be
The
the warband?
observatory mice.
Gotcha.
Warband
So
one,
let me
yeah.
just
Let me
grab
just
that
double check
real
if it's
quick.
will or strength. Using all the rules today. Crit damage. Yeah, it'll be strength.
This is meet or lower system, correct, for rolls?
Yeah.
Then I met it with a 10.
Yeah, they're like,
Yay,
we're
it's just a
fine.
success.
They get battered a bit with the wings, but they're like, huh, 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 huh. They're red mist. They're still going, so they're fine.
Did you say red mists?
Yeah, they've got the red mist down. They're ready to fight.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant I was having a much more horrible
Oh, no,
image
no,
of
no, no.
the pheasant
I
just
thought the
barreled
same
through
thing,
some and a
too.
bunch of the
No.
mice just turned to red mist. I was so
No, 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 no,
scared.
no, 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 no. They're just angry. Sorry.
I'd never heard that expression before. So my apologies.
Maybe that's an Anglicism. The red mist descended. No, anyway. But yeah, they're okay. Okay, so that's the pheasant. We are back up round 2 to Elchie.
All right. Now that I'm without my bomb, LG like momentarily mourns the lack of a ridiculous weapon. I think I don't know if I want to go and attack Merida just because our little sparrow
Yeah.
is very hurt.
Yeah. Also, you're not, because you're an individual. You're not a warband, so you wouldn't do any damage.
That's
to
right.
Merida.
I wonder though if I can try to corral the pheasant towards Merida so that they're
Yeah.
kind of fighting each other a little
Yeah.
bit and giving us a chance to regroup. So I think LG is gonna kind of just try to like fly from the direction of Merida to the pheasant to kind of like go around the pheasant and then bring them back towards each other.
Okay,
Maybe
so
just
you
do like
kind
a
of-
couple pecks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think you can just do that. I think that's fine. The pheasant's kind of all over the place. So yeah, you kind of like steer the pheasant more towards Merida. And yeah, it's facing her. It's more likely to go for her next time. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. I'm going to put the observatory mice onto Susie's turn now. So it is Azealia, who is also, I think, is going to, swoop down, similarly sort of help, and is going to swoop down and like grab one of the potion bottles, I think, from the stash. Now that the observatory mice are on the side, and like, wee, and grabs it. And is like ready to go. I think that's sort of swoop and grab. Yep, she's circling above, ready, out of reach of Merida, ready to go. Okay.
Can I
he's
just
like,
say
"Look."
I do? Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Well, I was just gonna say I appreciate the fact that like I can't remember if we've actually mentioned this on stream, but the whole thing is that Azalea is a retired adventurer who kind of gave up on her adventuring days, and that's how we
Yes.
became friends because she lived in the inn. And I really like the fact that she's kind of having this reawakening of her adventurous
Yeah.
spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she swoops down, she grabs it. She sees you, Tabitha, and she's like, I still got it.
That you do, my friend. That you do.
Yeah. Somewhere she's gotten war paint, is like got it on her, and is like, yeah. She's made a little bandana. She's so ready. She's like ripped all her clothes artfully. I'm ready. Okay. Okay. It's Merida, covered in paint, slightly acidically burnt. Not feeling great, but still, she's a lady with a plan. So the pheasant's in the way. The pheasant is an obstacle to Merida, so Merida is gonna clash with that pheasant. Okay. She bites at the pheasant, rips at it, doesn't down it, but yeah, you see her teeth sink into the pheasant's wing, and it's like, and it turns to peck at her back. Okay. Apple, you've got your sparrows, 2 of which are still cats.
I think are they sparrow-sized cats or are they cat-sized cats?
They're cat-sized cats. But they are very confused. So
Yeah.
what I'll say is you can give them like basic instructions, but they may not interpret them right.
Yeah, and also like I was thinking more for like a mental thing, not to be like,
Yeah,
well,
but yeah,
then
no, they have
are
like fully
yeah.
turned into big cats. They're like laying on their backs, like.
I think I like point over at like I'm imagining that I'm kind of like flying above and
Yeah,
like
for
you know
sure,
diving down
circling.
with everybody like
Yeah.
when there's an attack or something. So I think I like point down and I say, Merida's distracted by the pheasant. I think we should take her out because if she runs away, then the prophecy may still come true and the forest may be destroyed. And so I like point over that direction and say, I think we need to go in for a dive attack and grab
Okay.
onto the feathers.
Yeah, great. They all wheel around in
So-
unison, apart from the two cats.
yeah.
And yeah, D6 on that dive bomb peck.
Cool.
Is what
Let
I've
me
named it.
roll a D6.
Very imaginative.
3.
Cool. Okay. She's still hanging in there, but she's looking very rough. You see, yeah, all of the sparrows dive down. Peck, 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 peck. Tufts of fur are flying. Some of it covered in paint. Some of it covered in sap. She's like, I can't do a fox one very well. That's the one I can't manage. Pheasants and foxes, which are both present currently.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think Apple feels a little bad about this because Apple's not really a fighter.
No.
And so like even though Merida's like bad news and like feels like this has to be done. So I think as we're
You
diving
can shout
down,
something, yeah.
yeah, Apple just shouts out, it doesn't have to be like this. If you would just stop going after the potion, I don't think you understand what's going on. It's going to be really bad for everyone and bad for the forest. Just,
Yeah.
but who knows how much of that Merida's hearing because it's very like, whoa,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like when you're skydiving and you're like trying to yell. It's just very hard to understand.
I think she just shouts back like, "Oh, you could stop trying to stop me." Through a mouthful of pheasant.
A single tear goes down Apple's cheek as we fly back up. Yeah.
Apple, I should also say, you do notice as you do your dive bomb, Merida's, she was previously wearing like a little bow. It looks like she's kind of got changed and she's got kind of like a little sort of like, you know, you have like little doggy harnesses that dogs wear, like little coats.
Yeah.
It looks like she's kind of got one of those from somewhere and it's like a bit padded. So some of the pecks go into that, aka she has an armor on. So some of the pecks do deflect off of that as well. But it is like clipped on like a little harness. Just to let you all know.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you shout that, she shouts back. Tabitha.
I'm gonna, I think, follow Apple's lead because I was looking at, and I think the wood pile, it's near the apple tree, right? Like, am I looking at that right? Right on the other side of the river? Yeah. So it seems like it would be a little way away. And I've still got one of the bombs. So I'm gonna use that before I go, I think. So I'm gonna come in for another dive and try and drop the bomb on Merida. Just so that we don't waste any weapons that we've got.
Yes.
So yes. So is it I need to do a dex save to actually drop it and then do a different roll for the damage? Is that right?
No, if you are just throwing it, are you just trying to throw it, then you just do the damage.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. So I'm gonna get ready. Ooh. That's 13.
Woof. That'll do. That'll send her into crit damage.
Cool.
Let me get my calculator. Let's see. So minus 1 was 13. Oof. That was a big hit. She falls down. Let's see if she stays down or not. So she's making her strength save to try and not be downed. She fails. So another splash of this acid everywhere, and she gives out a yelp and she drops the pheasant and she falls down onto the floor, and you see she's holding a paw, limping. She has been injured. And yeah, She's down.
Can I just say that, like, as we're coming, because I think Tabitha also doesn't really want to hurt people.
No.
And Merida is a bad person, but she can talk to us, so she
Yeah.
feels like a person.
Yes.
So I think that, like, after Apple tries to, like, talk her down, Tabitha's kind of like, she's also crying a bit, and it's partly because of the flying, and it's partly because of the wind in her eyes, but
Yeah.
it's also because she doesn't really want to do this.
Yeah.
But then she kind of like holds on very tight to the sparrow, kind of throws him up, and as she throws it, she's like, "We all live in the same place, you silly, stupid, four-legged animal."
A very fair point. Yeah. And yeah, goes down, and yet she just gives like a little whimper for now and like she's technically incapacitated, but so she's going to just sort of start like crawling towards the base of a tree away from the pheasant, which is still kind of okay. So we need to just resolve what happens with the pheasant because the pheasant is now going but Merida is not dead, just injured and down. She's not going to move anywhere basically. But yeah, so Tabitha, you say that you drop the bomb. Susie and the observatory mice, you've seen this. The pheasant's still running around. Do you want to do anything else? You can also choose to just sort of go and check on and tie Merida up or talk to her or whatever as well.
Is the pheasant still initiating hostile action towards us?
Yeah,
I need
the
to know this
pheasant's
before
been worked
anything
up.
else.
Yeah, the pheasant is going to keep kind of pecking at random now while it's been riled up by everyone.
I
And
would
I
like
feel
my
like
warband to scare it away as best as possible.
Yeah. It's not very smart, so it may well flee if you, do that.
I suppose I just fire my acorn launcher at it and just scat, leave.
Sure.
Leave.
Yeah. Do you want to actually try and hit it, or do you want to like aim at its feet or anything?
Yeah, actually try and hit it because it did technically threaten our very lives and such.
That's very true.
And it did
Okay.
also potentially almost kill the observatory mice. So
yes. Okay. Roll for your acorn launcher then.
yes, it's D6 of damage, correct? Because it automatically
yes.
hits, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
D6 of damage. That's a 6.
Nice. Perfect. It has 6 left, so it's like
Susie's face just kind of has, in general, is like pretty easygoing and all right, but occasionally she switches to like one other look, which is just like, I don't know how I feel about all of this. I'm gonna deal with this right now, and just fires it. And it's like a direct shot of just acorn shrapnel that fires down.
It jumps in the air. And it's not very clever, so I'm just going to see if it decides to run away, because it's like, I don't like this. Yep, it runs away. It's like, I think you shoot it in the back and it's like, flaps about a bit, and again, runs off into the forest. And you hear in the distance, as it runs away. Okay, we'll come out of combat now then, because all the threats are either neutralized or they've run away. Okay, so Merida is on the floor. The observatory mice have their potions, and you're all still flying around. Some of you a bit worse for wear. What do you want to do?
I think I'm gonna ask my sparrow to fly me closer to the others, and then once I'm close to them, say, I think perhaps I'm gonna go do that little bit of cooking that we discussed whilst our friend is having a nap, because maybe we shouldn't tell our friend who's napping about the cooking until the cooking is done. If you catch my sort of drift.
I mean, I would love to have more of your apple desserts. So if you think that's best, then I'm in favor of it.
There's no bad time for apple snacks.
I would feel very comforted.
I think Tabitha's heart genuinely just melts a bit, and she looks at Apple and she's like, I will make you apple fritters for sure. I will make you apple sack. I will make you the little apple nougat. I absolutely for sure. I tell you what, I will do that for you just once I done this other bit of cooking as well. But I also think I'm gonna look at Susie. I do try to listen to what you say, and I believe there's something about, the community being owed and then serving its own justice as it sees fit in, within reasonable measure. And I feel that whilst all of us have been perhaps crossed in some way or another by our friend, the people who have suffered the most are, and she kind of gestures to like Bree and the other observatory mice. So perhaps now is a time to figure out a more amenable contract and agreement between the parties. What do you think?
I find this, in my most astute of opinions, to be the most agreeable state of affairs and course of action that we may take for the future. We must be certain to check in with our mouse kindred and go and take a look with all of them. I do not know if, from a purely juridical standpoint, that any sort of duress that we place Merida under at this point will make our contract any more standing than hers, but considering that she did not offer us the luxury of creating a contract without duress, I suppose turnabout is fair play.
I mean, this is true. And also, we don't need to threaten her now. Maybe there is some kind of, it feels like a strange world where we're negotiating with a fox, but perhaps there is some kind of negotiation. Did you ever hear of the Great Vole Mouse War? It happened, many seasons ago. There was a sort of turf war over, a patch of turf that was particularly delicious thanks to the grasses that grew there and the nutrients in the soil.
It's a
And
very nice clover.
Oh, the clover, of course. Yes, Azalea, the clover.
Yes,
but...
Azalea's like, I remember. I was only a young mouse then.
But, at the end of the day, we hired an interpreter and we found a way to negotiate, a fairer deal with the voles. And so we sort of came to a certain kind of peace. And it was not with threatening one party or the other, but simply accepting that they could have one part of the turf and we, the mice, could have the other part of the turf, and Basil and Hall could have a fraction of that part of the mice's part of the turf. It's a whole thing. I don't think we necessarily need to hurt her, although I can understand why our neighbors and the observatory might feel a little vengeful. But if there is some way simply to secure a guarantee that she at least will not bring us all down with her. And then Tabitha kind of winks a bit at you and goes, maybe embarrass her just a little bit. Just a little bit. I don't know how we want to do this because I don't want to take a bunch of time, especially if I'm off by myself doing something, but I'm just wondering if maybe me and Azalea kind of just peel off and then I can kind of shut up for a bit and we can
well, stuff will happen as you're trying to do that. So we can maybe do a bit of both, it maybe not be so simple.
Yeah.
So actually, I think what I'll say first, I think we'll go with you first, actually, because I think one of the things you see as you peel off, as everyone is clustering and kind of all the observatory mice are climbing down their little stairs to go out to see Merida and work out some things. So is it going to be Tabitha and was it Apple, sorry, or Elchie?
Well, I was gonna ask Taylor and Rue. Kind of my instinct is kind of Elchie because pyromania. But and I also think that Taylor is Apple is quite a pragmatic mouse, and I kind of trust Apple to work with Susie to prevent starting another war immediately. But which I'm not sure that I necessarily trust Elchie to do.
What do you mean?
Just you and all of your interspecies grudges across this entire forest. But yeah, I
She
don't.
just hides her sword behind her back. I don't know why anyone wouldn't trust me.
The sword that can only be removed when you resolve a grudge, which you have not done
I
for
was yeah, is the discussion figuring out who's going to talk to Merida and then who's going to go do the charcoal? Is that what we're figuring out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Apple's down for either. So wherever it seems like she's needed, I think she would go with. I will say, Rue, if you do want to give Elchie a chance to get this curse broken.
Oh yeah, I was thinking that. Like, I wonder if it
Yes.
would be useful for her to try to patch things
make
up with
peace,
Merida.
yeah.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone else you might see flying over the
that's
river.
true.
Uh-oh.
We
that's
got a
true.
raid.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was just about to say we got a
Oh.
raid from Horde of Tales.
Hey.
Hello there,
Hello.
folks.
Raiders, welcome.
We're playing the finale of Mouse Witcher. Yay! Merida has been got, but it's not dead yet. And there's much discussion. Okay, so it sounds like maybe Tabitha and Elchie want to fly off to deal
Mhm.
with the logs and the carbon, and then Susie and Apple are going to deal with the observatory mice and Merida. So yeah, we're actually going to go with Tabitha and Elchie first. You get on your sparrows.
Can I just say that before we leave, I do want to say that the way that I would like to kind of instigate that movement is that I think Tabitha just straight up like goes from kind of talking to Susie and being like, you know, let's not start another war again, but then like turns to Elchie and straight up just gives her a little mousy grin and like dimples her little mousy cheeks. And
Aw.
it's just like, Elchie, my friend, would you like to start a fire?
Always.
Okay,
yeah.
so you take off on your sparrows, and yeah, you fly back over the river, which you can see there's still some of that potion is kind of making its way down. And you do see there are a few little frogs by the stepping stones who are like slowly washing off bits of the potion. They seem to be kind of coming to. You do notice you recognize one of those frogs as the frog that you talked to in that very first.
Oh, well,
session.
thank goodness he's all right, because, you know, Apple gave him such a good message, and I just thought that he must have been permanently injured or something, and that was why he never made it to Basildon Hall, because I know he would have done anything to get there.
But yeah, you see he's guiding the other frogs to wash the potion off so that they can kind of come back to themselves a little bit. So there's a little cluster of frogs down there. But yeah, you keep flying. You do see there's a few of the willow root voles also kind of like they've got their little gondolas, their little reed gondolas out, and they're kind of like trying to clear up. It seems like it's getting kind of worse near them at the moment because there's more potion coming down. They seem to be trying to like keep it away from the roots of the willow. But there you make your way over to the logs and you can land. It's sort of a grassy fielded area around here. The last little thing you do spot as you're flying is you do see in the house, just through the window, you see Saskia. But this time she's in the window as a human again, because she has taken your little bit of potion and she's gone to clear up the cauldron itself. Yeah, so she now no longer looks like a little tabby cat with a great ear. She looks like a sort of late 20s woman with curly brown hair with a little streak of grey, sort of like tan skin, and she's got like a little sort of like witch's uniform, like a little sort of navy waistcoat and like little puffy sleeves and a little witch's hat, and she sort of waves at you out the window. And she's like, you can see she's got a little mop bucket and she's been cleaning up the potion inside.
She's so big, her eye is as big as my head.
Can't believe she was a cat before. It's so weird. Everything is weird right now. Tabitha.
Everything that I thought I understood about nature and the natural order of things is completely wrong, it turns out. Cats can be humans, humans can be cats, foxes can sometimes be humans, sparrows can be cats.
Yeah.
I think what I'm learning is that anything can be a cat.
Yeah, all things turn to cats. Maybe that slug is a cat now. Who knows?
You know, I've spoken to Susie before about the law of entropy, and I thought that she just meant that things sort of eventually fell apart, became chaotic. But perhaps what she was actually saying was everything becomes like chaotic, catic. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's something in there that perhaps we haven't successfully interpreted.
This is what the cats don't want us to know.
It's
They've distracted us with the flying birds, but it was really cats.
been cats all along. It's cats all the way down.
We're all just different types of cats.
Well,
Elgie's having
all
like
of us
an
have a little bit of
existential crisis. So they're like, am I just a small cat?
Yeah, I think the birds are very confused as well. They're like, why are you smiling at that huge human? So strange.
Oh no, well, you see, the thing is, so she was a cat. And I know how that sounds, but you know, you really shouldn't judge a book or a cat by its cover, because in the end, are we not all really cats? I think that
the cat that was in the tree.
Yes,
Because I
yes.
saw her as well. Now they're a human. How did that happen? That's amazing.
Well, so she was originally a human and then she became a cat. Now, what Elchie and I think that we might be on the cusp of discovering is perhaps she was originally a cat who became a human, who became a cat, who became a human again. Like, I don't know. I don't know how far back this goes. But, you know, I think more investigation is needed, but perhaps another day.
Looks like that potion she's got's the same as the one those mice were throwing as well. Maybe we'll all be cats. That's exciting.
Like, as soon as the sparrow says that, Tabitha gives the sparrow such a distrustful look. Like...
Not me. I wouldn't want to be a cat. I like flying.
Right. Well, good to know.
Anyway, it's just a little roller coaster, like, woo, down we go. And yeah, you land over in the grass, and yeah, you can see there's this big log pile, and you can see there's the logs stacked up, but you do notice that behind the logs are a few. Now, how would mice see this? You see there's these sort of like brightly colored tubes with like little sort of stripes around them and things, and some of them are like, looks like a rocket.
Are those fireworks?
Yes.
Oh my
And
god!
they're stacked up by the logs as well. They've obviously been left behind from a fireworks night.
I mean, Philip would tell me, I'm gonna pitch that maybe we might have an idea what these are, because Elchie travels a lot and I have an inn, and even though we
Yes.
don't know what fireworks are called, humans use fireworks a lot, right? So we
Yes.
might have heard
Quite scary,
stories of
yeah.
these, yeah, like of big striped tubes that turned into big explosive fires. At some point, one of us might have heard that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that is a very fair case, and therefore, yes.
Elchie,
Yes,
I
Tabitha.
think we've been given an opportunity to take advantage and harness a great and terrible human power.
Instead of
And
cats, will be humans.
Instead of cats, we'll be humans. And I know that we just did like a whole quest to stop Merida from using human magic for her own means. And perhaps there's a lesson in there that we should be learning about how we also should not use human magic for our own means. Except that I've heard such stories about these devices, and it would certainly make the wood turn into charcoal.
That's true. I've heard whispers when I go traveling about this thing where they see piles of it and then all of a sudden the sky lights up in fire. It's terrifying but also really exciting. I would like to be the one to do that. Think of the power we could have, Tabitha. We could turn the sky into fire. We would get rid of all the flying in the world.
You're right. We could wage war on the sky. Everything has been leading up to this moment. This is it, Elchie. This is what our adventure has been for. It's to end the menace of the sky. No offense, gentlemen. I just didn't kind of call back over to the sparrows.
As we're flying on the sparrows, they're like, what?
Yeah, you come into them and they're like, what? What did they say? What did they say?
They said they were gonna set the sky on fire.
That seems bad. That seems bad. Yes, that does seem bad.
Don't worry about it. It's just mousy things. Sometimes we speak in strange codes and hieroglyphics known only to those of our village and those who know the code. And it sounds bad, but it's not actually bad. It's sort of like, you know how the ravens really want you to take them seriously and seem scary, but they're not actually scary, they're just sort of goofy. That's sort of our deal here. So just don't worry about it.
Oh, it's more prophecies, Twelson. Oh, right, very good.
I don't know. Has anyone ever had the experience of watching a friend get inducted into a cult? I don't know why, but this makes me think of that so strongly. It's just,
but it's like just our own cult. Like, we're inducting ourselves into a cult of our own making.
I think it's we are wildly out of control. I mean, but I feel like what I love about this, right, and is that, like, you know, like Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah.
Human devices and fireworks, I think, are to mice what Cthulhu is to man. Like it's like, you know, we have been gifted with this thing of immense, strange power that we cannot possibly understand in our mousy brains, except that we can use it to destroy the sky. And you know, who wouldn't create a god in that situation?
So one thing I am going to say is that because you both know on a conceptual level what fireworks are, you would realize that if they were to be set off wrong, that explosion could happen on the earth. So you'll need to do this quite carefully. Is all I'll say.
So I'm wondering if fireworks often have instructions, right? So I'm wondering if there's any kind of like, and we can read human writing just very slowly, but if we go closer to them, could we take some time to try and read any instruction on it?
Yeah, you could take some time for that. Okay, Angela. Having a good time.
My stomach hurts so much from laughing because the phrase "who wouldn't create a god in that situation" just hit me like a truck in the middle of the road, and I did not know how to process it. I was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get another like Tic Tac to freshen up my breath or like take a drink of water, and I'm glad I didn't, because I would have spit it all out. I just heard it and I was like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Excellent. Okay, well, I think in that case, Elchie and Tabitha, you take some time to carefully maneuver yourselves so you can read the instructions on the fireworks, which is going to take a little while. And so while that's happening, let's go back over to Apple and Susie and the observatory mice and Merida. So yeah, Merida is kind of, I think she's like sort of dazed, sort of not quite unconscious, but she's very like, she's just kind of chilling out, covered in paint, not doing well. And the observatory mice are making their way down. Susie, you're with them, and then Apple, you've got there's a sort of a meow beep beep as the two sparrows that were cats turn back into sparrows and are like, oh, what ho, chat, that was very strange. I don't like that. I much prefer having wings. And they're just sort of like trying to understand what's going on.
I don't understand why everyone hates paws so much. I think they're very nice.
I don't know.
Actually
It felt
find
very
them quite
strange.
enjoyable as well.
And while we're talking near the log, let's move us over to the log. As well.
I think while you're doing that, I think Susie replies to Apple. It's like, having paws is quite nice. It was very enjoyable for the short time that I was able to be a cat.
When were you a cat?
Oh, I never was.
Is this like when you said you used to be a raven?
She just starts walking over to the observatory, but she doesn't even give an answer.
Apple just turns to one of the birds and is like, I can't tell if Susie is lying or joking or being honest. I just don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening.
Abby, you know her better than us. So
Maybe I don't after all. It's just
Oh.
looking at Susie and imagining like a cat.
I suppose we'd better go and help then. And they start hopping off also towards the meeting.
Yeah.
So Merida's sort of between the nettles at the front of the log, and all of the little mice make their way out of the log and start sort of marching towards her as well.
Yeah, Apple joins contemplatively.
Okay, so Merida's sort of, like a bit dazed in the moment. So you've got a moment to talk with the observatory mice and each other about what you want to do, basically.
I think Susie goes up to them. Well, first, actually, she wants to see where is Persil.
Percival had locked himself away inside, and he comes out, but he's looking very ashamed to have not helped, especially now you've won. He's like, oh, should have
no.
trusted everyone a bit more. I'm so sorry.
Hello,
And Bree
friend.
seems to be at the front a little bit, sort of leading the way, actually.
She like runs over and she gives like a very like enthusiastic pat in the back to Bree, but she's mainly looking to like try and catch Persil's attention.
Yeah, he's sort of slinking along at the back and comes up to you as well. And he's like, oh, that was very scary.
That is understandable.
I'm
Have
sorry
you
for not
also
helping you.
have you also led a life of mostly knowledge and not really going outside and seeing the world and such?
Unfortunately, no, I saw a bit too much of the world, and that's why I decided to stay in a log and not see any more of it.
My friend, you have much reason to not want to be out. Leaving the home is a terrifying thing, trust me. I am very aware of this.
Yes, I'm
My
glad
heart
Bree
is gripped by
understands.
fear on pretty much all occasions on which I am even remotely outside of Basildon Hall.
Oh, well, on that we have something in common. I'm
But,
always
friend,
scared when I'm outside of the log, and sometimes scared when I'm in the log as well.
oh, I am also afraid of being inside as well. I'm
glad
pretty
that
much
we have
always afraid,
something in
if
common.
to be honest. But she's saying this all with like a very big,
Yeah.
happy smile on her face.
Well, you hide it very well, Susie.
Oh,
Better than
I,
me.
I, I don't hide it. I'm quite vocal and open about this. For the most part, I tend to think that if it weren't for my friends and just wanting to do things for others, I'd probably never leave, well, my little trash pile that I find every now and then when I'm in Basildon Hall.
Oh, well, I'm very glad you did on this occasion, Susie. Otherwise, I think we could have ended up in a bit of a worse predicament than we're in currently.
Of that I am most definitely certain. I do imagine that you would have been held in a state of subjugation to a most malevolent figure who would slowly but surely spell your entire doom for the forest and your whole community.
Yes. And you see Bree is kind of like walking in front and is like, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and I think she puts a paw, and I'm pretty certain I would describe Susie is not very big. She's like
Yeah.
relatively small comparatively to a lot of folks, but she like reaches up her paw and puts it on Persil's shoulder, and she says, "It is within the nature of all forms of knowledge to provide power, possibility, and hope to those who make use of it. But it cannot be in isolation, friend, and it cannot be sequestered in one spot simply as an excuse to be away from the world. Knowledge must always be in the world, and must always be informed by that which is around it, even if you are scared. Do not feel ashamed for what you have done, or rather what you could not do. Only going forward, if you must feel shame, then feel it for what you choose not to do going forward, knowing that you can do better, and that I trust you will do better.
Thank you,
I tend to
Susie.
believe hope's a good course of action for pretty much everybody."
He dabs at his whiskers a little, and he's like, "Thank you, Susie. That actually, you're right. I have been trying to hide myself away, and it's not actually helpful if we hide all of our knowledge from everyone. You're right. Going forwards, I think I'm not going to be I will continue to be the head scholar, but I don't think that perhaps that role should also be the one that decides what the observatory might do. And he kind of catches up with you and Bree and grabs Bree and Borridge's hand as well. And he's like, I think you two had much more bravery than I did. And I think perhaps you two should be the ones deciding what we do as a group going forwards. I'll carry on providing the help and information that I can, but I think that my role is more with my books and passing it on to other people. Thank you, Susie, for your advice.
Well, thank you. I really do like compliments. They are quite nice. I never know what to do with them, but it is very nice to hear them every now and then. And then she like walks over as though the conversation has not been like
Yeah.
riveting or profound for the people
Yeah,
involved. And
you
she's
walk
just
past,
like
they're all
next
holding
to.
paws, like.
But she goes over to Apple, who I assume we're there like in front of Merida now. Like I think Susie just wanted to make sure the folks are like whatever course they want to take. I want them to be like deliberating amongst themselves while she
Yeah.
goes over to Apple. So points in the direction of the day's Merida. What do you want to do with her?
I don't know what we should do. It feels wrong to do anything too horrible to her because she can't really fight back, but it also feels dangerous to let her go free, knowing that whatever she does might bring an end to the forest as we know it.
Philippa, above table question.
Mm-hmm.
How big does that grow spell potion thing that you mentioned to me in chat? How big does it make you?
Here we go. Grow. Grow a creature to dice, so number of dice, plus 1 times its original size for 1 turn. So you would roll a d6 to see how much bigger you would get, basically. So it could be up to 6 times.
Would any of those growth improvements get us to be bigger than Merida, or at least on par with Merida?
Yes. The other let me just read it. Here we go. Sorry, yes. So when it says dice, make grow creature to dice plus 1 times. So it has 3 uses. Each one of those represents 1 dice. So you could get up to 3 times plus 1 bigger if you used all 3 of the uses in one go. So I think if you did, how big are you and hers? I think you'd probably need to do all 3 to get bigger than Merida.
Appreciate you doing the hand math to indicate the growth size. Like, well, I'm of 2 minds. I while I do agree that I do not think we should be too terrible to her, for I find unwholesome retribution towards a combatant who is by all means incapable of defending himself to be unsavory at best. I would say that we allowing people who have been wronged to have their own sense of justice and to be centered in the conversation is a good course of action. That is one course. The other one is we could just scare her a little bit to not do this again.
The thing that I worry about is the thing that we saw in the prophecy was that we just saw Merida running out of the forest. And then the humans came and destroyed it. And depending on if we scare her, what if we scare her to leave the forest and that's what the prophecy is? What if her running away is because she's scared or feels like she doesn't belong here? Or what if she's leaving to find help from humans who are bigger than us and that's what happens? I just don't know. I don't want us to do something that's going to destroy the forest, but also if we do nothing, that could destroy the forest. So we have to do something, but I don't know what it should be. I don't think we should scare her because I think that when people are scared, they end up doing things they wouldn't normally do. And sometimes those things can be bad and breed more anger against each other. maybe talking to her. If she could understand if she could understand what she was going to do. I don't think anyone thought that she knew that she was going to be destroying the forest, and I don't think she would want to do that. I don't know if she'll believe us.
One other thought does come to your mind at this point, both of you, I think, as you're discussing this, is that you do have some other options as well that you could explore. You don't have to, you're welcome to stay with these ones, but just that they come to mind. Saskia is now human again and therefore has powerful human witch magic that maybe could do something. You do also still have some potions as well that do various different things and maybe could be engineered to do other stuff. So yeah, just to sort of say it doesn't have to be sort of an either or, scare or talk. There are other things you can maybe do as well.
I think Apple, thinking of that, says, well, there have been times that I've come to understand someone different than me by putting myself in their place. And maybe if Merida were to understand what it's like to be a mouse and to be scared of something so big, then maybe she won't do things to make people scared anymore.
That could work. At the very least, I think we should go and talk to her right now and see where she is at mood-wise, and then if she is in a cooperative state, or if she is in a non-cooperative state, we proceed from there as need be. But I think I think she runs over quickly, asks the observatory mice for the growth potion, and then she comes back.
Yeah.
I have this in case either one of us would like to be very, 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 very big.
Would you like to be very, very big?
Excellent. Okay, I think that might be a good point to have a little break with Susie receiving. It's a growth tablet. This one's on a little slate. Being like, yes, I would like to be big. And we'll have our little break, and then we'll kind of get back into what's happening with the fireworks and what's happening with Merida. So lovely viewers, we're going to have a little break for about 5-10 minutes ish. And do stick around because we'll find out what happens after the break. So we will see you then. hello. Welcome back to Girls Run These Worlds and our finale of Mouse Return, Mice in the Herb Garden. We've just had some very exciting things happening. I think we've had Merida, the fox, has been taken down and is currently a little dazed and unconscious as Apple and Susie decide what to do. And Tabitha and Elchie have made their way to the log pile, which they've noticed has some fireworks in. So I think let's pop back over to Tabitha and Elchie. So you've been having this discussion about lighting the sky on fire. And yeah, what would you like to do? You've been reading instructions as well, and you have, sorry, I remember now. You were reading the instructions, you've taken that time to read those instructions, and you can see that there's like some little fuses that could be arranged so that you could kind of light them from a distance. And it also says this way up, so you can adjust them to be the right way up as well. And yeah, that can be either going up in the sky, or if you want them to explode in the log pile, you're welcome to do it that way, but obviously there may be a bit of collateral explosions beyond the log pile as well.
So Elchie, I've been thinking about this and I still think it's a great idea. What I think perhaps we should do is dig ourselves a little bunker. You know, like rabbits have warrens. So if we dig ourselves a little hole in the ground, then if there's shrapnel from the wood pile and we're under the soil, then hopefully we'll sort of be shielded. We should probably also invite our sparrow friends. I mean, who knows what terrible existence they live, but I suppose we shouldn't condemn them to something worse.
They were, they didn't choose to be sparrows. They just are. What could they do about it? The sparrows are, I feel like we're still like sitting on the sparrows and they're like, what? Excuse you.
No, you're right. You're so worldly. You're such a good traveler. I imagine everywhere you go, with every new culture you meet and every new person you meet, you have such a way of understanding people. You're right. No, we should exercise compassion. Well, perhaps I can dig a hole. We often plan things for the inn for food and things for cooking. And would you like, and the Tabitha kind of heaves out one of the matches, which is as big as she is. So I guess like from a mouse perspective, a match is like a quarter staff. She gets out this match and is like, would you like to do the honors?
This is the most touching thing anyone has ever done for me. Yes, I would like to set it on fire. And she's just like grabby hands at the match.
The sparrows do offer you, they do say, we could, I don't know about you ladies, we would quite like to maybe go back in the tree far away from the
I forgot
like
that
to
the
join
tree
us?
was an option. It's such an alien concept to me, to be so high. Yes, no, you're right. That would be much smarter. We should
perhaps to the wall, and you see there's a big dry stone wall as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but yes, no, you are right. We should, yes. All right. Well, so you're our emergency exit. We got the fuse. Elchie lights it. So I guess plan A, Elchie, you just sprint and run for your sparrow. Plan B, if you aren't able to get there in time, then me and my sparrow come in and pick you up with those. What do you call those things you got at the end of your legs? Because they don't look like paws to me.
Claws.
Ah, all right. Well, can you pick things up with them? Because paws are very good for that, but I'm not sure if claws would be.
Could a sparrow? Yeah. It might be a
maybe
bit
the
difficult,
two
but
to
I
like
could try.
together.
Yeah, we could do it together. An unladen swallow, yes. An unladen sparrow this time. Yes, I think we could do it together, yes.
All right, then. I mean, this is... No. I shouldn't be tempted. I was going to say that this is inspiring me with some drills that you guys should be doing, but I feel like I'm being tempted by the dark side. Anyway, no. All right. Elchie, and I'm gonna hold my hand out for kind of like, you know, one of those like warriors kind of like arm clasps. You know the Arnold Schwarzenegger like the clasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, predator handshake.
Yeah, the predator. Thank you,
Yes.
Taylor. Tabitha's gonna like hold out a paw and be like, Elchie, I got your back.
Yes. I also have my back and your back. Also, plan C is I play myself out with a clarinet, and you see me also go up in flames.
Sorry,
And Elchie's just like,
can we put that like a
and
plan
she
like
just like
Z?
starts running. Tabitha's like, wait, what?
Despite the urgency of the situation, I think Tabitha is so shaken by this that she takes like a glug of cider from like a flask at her hip. She's just like, you know, mouse bless that brave little bard.
Okay, Elchie, you make your way to the fuse sticking out of the
Yes.
log pile. You've arranged them all. So you've arranged them all to kind of go up in the log pile to sort of send it high. Okay. Strike that fuse. It starts going. You run back. And yeah, go on. I think we've got the backup plan, but I just want to see which plan you end up having to do. So do a dex save for me.
Yeah. Let's see. What is my highest stat? So we'll see. No, I got a 12.
Ooh,
Just
okay,
two
so
above.
yeah, actually you stumble a little, but luckily you've got plan B worked out, so the sparrows take off and hover for a moment and you feel two sets of their claws pick you up by the arms and fly you off
Perfect.
towards the tree.
I think
I mean-
Elchie like solemnly pulls out her clarinet before this happened and is just playing like some kind of memorial, like
Sword waving,
this is
clarinet
how
playing.
this is how it must be. Remember
Yeah.
me, Tabitha. And then you'll come in and swoop her up. I'll still keep playing though.
You look down as you're playing, Elchie, and you see over your little tubby tummy and your feet dangling. The grass is a long way below, and there's nothing beneath you.
Oh no.
I'm going to lean over the side of my sparrow though, because I gotta say, can we say that like Elchie's like little clothes is what the sparrows are holding on to, so they've got their hands free for the clarinet playing.
Yeah.
But like then like the kind of cinematic shot of like the wood pile going up in flames and this slow-mo like kaboom with shrapnel coming out. I imagine Saskia in the cottage being like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like Elchie silhouetted by like flame, smoke, lifted up out of the ashes like a phoenix or an angel, playing the clarinet. And Tabitha's just gonna lean over the side of the sparrow, kind of shout in the oncoming wind, for what it's worth, Elchie, I still think this is a very impressive visual.
Elchie's like, that's cool because I'm definitely not looking back. Something in my instincts tells me to only look forward. Also, now I have the will to live again, so please don't drop me.
Otto, yes. And you all fly in. You know, in is it Spirited Away? The baby gets turned into like the little mousy thing and it gets carried around by a little fly. I think that's the sort of shape that's emerging into the tree as Elchie is dropped down by these sparrows onto the little cut-off landing log, the landing branch, and you're able to turn around just to see some of the fireworks going up into the sky, pew, 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 and the log pile ablaze, little sparklers going off. Catherine Wheel, woo! And yes, explosions in the sky.
Can I just say, in the light of like kind of the sky on fire and then these you know pink and green and red sparkles and everything and it glistening off our fur and all the rest of it, Tabitha kind of jumps off her sparrow as we drop Elchie and just runs forward and like picks up Elchie in a hug and like basically picks them up off the ground and kind of spins them around and like holds them really tightly and it's like, please don't ever do that again. I really like you and I would be very sad if you weren't around anymore.
Elchie's just like, I probably would be sad too, but I wouldn't know because I wouldn't be around anymore.
Tabitha laughs a bit, is crying a bit, and she's like, you sound like Susie.
It's a good influence.
It is, and I suspect you're a terrible influence on me, but things are much more fun these days, so...
For whatever reason, Susie just has Sarah McLachlan's "In the Arms of an Angel" just start playing in her head, and she doesn't know why. Like, she's about to go into a serious meeting. She's like, why do I hear Sarah McLachlan? Or whatever the mouse equivalent of Sarah McLachlan would be if someone wants to figure out what that name is.
Nah, I can't think of one. I'm sure it'll come to me. Several things also happen as you're staring at the fireworks and hugging that you've managed it. The Saskia runs out of the house with a little fire extinguisher to put the hedge out that is behind the logs, being careful not to put out the logs because she was aware of this plan to burn them, and carefully puts the hedge out.
Sorry, Saskia.
The other thing you do see is so Susie and Apple, you hear this go off, not having it. Everyone is just like, all of the observatory mice, the rest of the sparrows duck at the sound of explosions. And similarly, you do see Alchie, you notice in the river, you saw that there were those little voles, and Albertine as well was in some of those little gondolas, and they were all quite surprised by that. And you see that Albertine has toppled into the river and is flailing about in the potion and is like,
oh no.
And the whales are all trying to paddle over to try and get him out. We'll return to that scene in a moment. Apple and Susie. So you hear this explosion go off as you've been talking with the other mice. You see Saskia out the house in her human form as well. So you've also seen her now putting out the the hedge. Quite small in the distance from where you are, but you're sort of around here, so you can kind of see her over what is actually a quite small stream. But obviously to you, you're like, massive river. She's so far away. And you've been talking with the observatory mice. So you were saying you had your options, yes. Scare off, scare to stop Merida, try and convince her, maybe show her what it's like to be a mouse, or something else. You've got your grow spell as well.
I think maybe Apple would be interested in hearing what the observatory mice have to like say about it, like what they think should happen. And I think Apple says some of the different options and like what her opinion is, but like I won't say that in character since it'll be things that were already said on stream.
The observatory mice break down basically into 3 camps, led by Bree, Borage, and Perseal. Perseal is willing to sort of listen to the other 2, but his thought is Merida's very dangerous. Whatever we choose to do, we need to make sure it works. He doesn't really mind what that is as long as we're pretty confident it's going to work. So he's into maybe trying to scare her to stop, but he's not sure if that would stick. He thinks what you said about her maybe running away might also be dangerous. Bree is quite like, she's been quite het up after Susie talking to her about sort of rebellion and overthrowing Merida, and is all for sort of like scaring her and hounding her out of the woods and being like, yeah, just get her gone, exile her, we don't want her here anymore. And Borage is sort of more in the middle, and he's like, I think your idea of maybe talking to her, but maybe showing her the error of her ways somehow, that would be quite good. So they're all kind of like, they're not really decided. There's a kind of a rabble of them all now in their little scholars' jerkins, all sort of squabbling basically over what they think should happen.
I think Apple kind of, as it's sort of like descending into squabbling, like gets up on like a rock or something. It's like, I'm interested in hearing what everyone has to say, but how can we expect to find peace with the fox if we can't even find peace amongst ourselves?
Well, normally we'd all listen to Persil, someone says, but he's abdicated his responsibility. Bree pipes up, no, I'm in charge now. Bart, no, I'm in charge.
How about nobody's in charge? How about we're all in charge?
They all look very like, how does that work?
I don't really know, but I bet Susie's read something about it. Like looks over to Susie.
He walks over and like rests on like a tiny little like bit of stump that so that it raises her. But she sits down to make sure that she's like on a level, because I think she for her she's just trying to model this love, this sense of like standing would suggest like it's supposed to be authority or leadership, and that's not quite what she wants to give off. She says, "My fellow mousekin, you have all done well today to fight against that which has caused you fear, which has left you ruined and deprived in terms of your options of freedom, choice, and liberty. Now, however, now comes the tiresome work and responsibility that such things demand of all of us. From the lowliest mouse who has barely begun to walk and crawl upon the earth, to the mouse that knows many a things that have happened over their many months of existence. You must all decide for yourselves whether you would like, again, to have a formal leadership of some kind. This could extend into having one or multiple people who decide in a council to lead you. You can have this be entirely more anarchic in structure, in that you are all voting to try and come together as a with a general consensus, or simply just leave the task to us. But I think we think it much more just and fair that the people who are wrong decide what the fate of the person who has done the harm should be going forward. I offer you these examples simply to give you blueprints, but mouse fate, mouse destiny, mouse life and existence cannot be simply plotted out or theorized about. It must be lived and done with the practice and mistakes that come as a part of all living things who try and make it in this world. What path will you all choose?
I'm like, yeah. I think they sort of go back into a rabble for a while and sort of like discuss and blah, blah, blah. And I think they come to sort of an agreement that they'll sort of like put forward some representatives basically for now. And what I think I've just thought of this, but I think this would be interesting, is because I think obviously narratively it makes sense that the observatory mice want to make the decision, but I don't want to be here being like, the observatory mice say you should do this thing, and then you feel you have to do it. So I was wondering if all four of you could maybe message me on the chat to say what your vote, imagining you're one of the observatory mice, is. Or we could do it, I don't know if you want to do it privately or if you want to be like, I represent this group of the mice. But I was just thinking that might be quite fun. You can tag in the Zoom chat like just to me, and then I could be like, interesting, and then they'll put forward that choice. I think
like
that would be fun.
I think that's really
so
fun.
I love that too. We are giving power to the people.
yeah, impromptu game of kingdom or something. We can.
Sorry, could I get the options real quick once again?
So the main options that have been discussed are scare Merida off out of the woods, attempt to scare her to make her stop, try and convince and talk to her, or maybe try and turn her into a mouse for a little bit so she sees what it's like and is more empathetic before you try and convince her. Or maybe get Saskia to do something. Imagine the countdown music is playing.
So for some reason, like in the animated series version of this section just has like nice calming like walking bass, so it's just boom 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 boom.
All the little mice are like writing down. Yeah, they've found like a little conker shell and are using it to collect up little mouse votes, going around making sure everyone has voted.
I think Apple. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, for some reason in the corner while they're deliberating, there's there's just a mouse with a really tall blonde wig, and you just hear like a bunch of like jazz, like vocalizing and scatting just happening as well.
Yeah.
I think during that too, Apple is kind of going around and doing the thing that like a teacher or professor does when everyone's in small group, and just kind of like going over to where mice are talking and making sure that they're like, you know, talking about whatever is going on, and not like saying anything or interjecting, but just kind of walking over and like looking around and then kind of going over to another little group of mice.
Yeah. Okay, so after a few minutes, the conker shell is full, and Percival, Borage, and Bree sort through and count out all the votes, and it looks like the majority of the mice have decided that they think that Merida ought to be allowed to remain, but she should be turned into a mouse and have to live with the observatory mice for a little bit to see basically what it's like to be a mouse. There's a few variations of that, but yeah, the majority of you said turn her into a mouse and give her a place to live in the observatory to see what it's like, basically. One of which was also so that she can learn to use magic responsibly, which I like as well. I think that's a good point. Okay, brilliant. That worked so well. Hooray! So yeah, that's announced. I think Bree reads it out to you and says, "We all think that Merida ought to learn a lesson of her own and see what it is like on the mouse side. And I believe our version of the potion tends to only last for a little while, but from our understanding, the human witch, her version of the potion can last for much longer. So maybe if we talk to her, she would be able to get this to work."
I think that Saskia has a vested interest in working with us to find some kind of solution to Merida's antics. Kind of look at the others.
Sorry, Tabitha and Elchie aren't technically.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I completely. I thought we were.
Although if you want to fly over to be part of the discussion, I think that could definitely
From
be
high
arranged.
above.
I think I
Yeah.
just like
Zoom in.
from being part of the cat. Oh, that was just a mouse in the council. I have to say
Yeah,
that
little
to
mouse.
Tabitha because I'm one of the cousins of Tabitha. I left the family long ago and was disowned to join the observatory because they were anti-intellectual for a while in the Thistle family.
We get confused for a second. It's like, no, I'm not Tabitha. I'm Talitha. Very, very common misconception.
I know, and you know, it's very rude to say that because of my accent, you can't tell the difference between the two things. I would say, you know, we have a regional accent, and that's allowed. Actually,
you look a lot alike too, though. I think
we get that a lot, but you know, my father has insisted for a long time that he never had any relations with Tabitha's mother.
This has gone from mouse ritter to like soap opera.
Susie's just slowly pulling Apple away and just being like, "You're gonna dig yourself a bigger hole, friend. Just do it. Just back away.
Not this
back away.
fight.
You don't want to get involved in family politics. It's just not gonna go well."
I think Apple does maybe volunteer, not necessarily alone, but it says that she'd be willing to go and fly over and talk to the witch, even though I think the witch can't understand us, but we determined that writing things that we could communicate that way. So says like, I think that the witch in the house would be able to turn Merida into a mouse more permanently, and I wouldn't mind flying over on a sparrow. I think flying is really nice when it goes well.
Captain Gordon the Sparrows click their little sparrow heels together and like, "Ready at your service." Flying away from the fox, that sounds good.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry, you muted.
Oh no, I was just imagining the sound of them going by at the moment they're told, "Oh, you don't have to be around the fox anymore."
Yeah.
Just going.
Yeah.
Why do we suddenly hear NASCAR like racing going by when the
sonic boom?
Okay, so I think if you're going to do that, the observatory mice sort of like tend to Merida's wounds, but then they sort of like bind her paws so she can't run away, basically. But they're going to make sure she's okay. She's not like going to be too hurt, basically. Ready for you to return with Saskia. You head over on the sparrows, and I think that's at the point we'll kind of bring you back together, because this is when Tabitha and Elchie notice that Albertine is flailing in the river, and I think you also see it as you're flying over as well, that the voles are trying to pull Albertine out, who's gotten kind of he's gotten the same thing that happened to Elchie, where he's gotten very sticky and he's kind of gotten like stuck to one of the boats and can't like get out, and so he's trying not to get his other paw on the boat. But you do see from high up the dark shape of a fish under the water, the trout that was mentioned several episodes ago.
No.
Can we see from above the charcoal that has been created, presumably?
Yes. So you're kind of flying on the map. I'm just going to show you. You're about over the frog castle. Here's the logs. Here's where Tabitha and Elchie are. The witch is here. And this is about where the Albertine and the voles are. So that's where you're all kind of positioned roughly. So yes, you can see that the logs are slowly, they're crisping up nicely. They're starting to give off bits of chunks of charcoal because they kind of exploded so quickly. It's gone. We're not going to science it too much, but yeah, basically the charcoal's pretty much ready to go. Explosions sped it up.
Movie magic. I think if Elchie sees Albertine, she's gonna like kind of go towards Tabitha, because I know we're like trying to head back to everyone else. Mm-hmm. And then Elchie's like, there's something I have to do. Look, Albertine is, you remember the otter that
I remember quite distinctly. There was quite a ruckus in the Willow Root Market, and now I don't know if I can ever go back, but that's fine, because we had a great time. But no,
that's very good. I think you're good to go. I think I am the one that is persona non grata there.
Well, I'm not going to go without you. I'm going to hold your shoulders and be like little mousy shoulders and be like, Elchie, this is your moment.
Yes.
You can do this. Clear away the bad blood. Cleanse the bad blood between you, as we are going to cleanse this river. Save that Albertine. I can't remember what animal he is.
Otter.
I
love the idea of you saying that as character, where you're like looking at them and you're like, I don't know what that is, but go save it.
What we've learned about Tabitha is that she only pays attention to mice when she can. Everyone else is godless. All of you are godless creatures.
He's also covered in goo.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, right. See, if thank you very much. Yes, no, it looks like at the swamp thing. You know, that stage play that the traveling mice performed whenever they came to a new town. It was very upsetting because I'd never been to a swamp, but I mean, shan't go now.
You said swamp thing, and all I could imagine is just a traveling performing troupe that they have some very long name, but it shortens to DC for some reason.
but yeah, like Tabitha kind of pushes Elchie forward. I've got your back. Save him.
Okay, yeah. Mostly I'm saving him because there is like a 50% chance he becomes gigantic or a cat, neither of which I want to have happen.
That's true. Everything eventually becomes a cat. Quickly.
Yeah. Or really big, which also seems scary.
Very scary.
So I think Elchie like kind of pats their sparrow, who I think is still hurt. I don't think they ever recovered.
You do actually. I think there is a looming shadow over you for a moment, and you turn and see Edgar the Raven. He's like,
"Oh, okay.
Pleased to be your steed, Elchie. Death shall not haunt our wings today."
She just kind of like looks back at Tabitha and is like, okay, yeah, sure. From one bird to a much bigger bird. She's just like, yeah, why not? Let's just go all in. I almost died to fireworks, so.
You look metal as hell!
Another elaborate bow.
Yeah, and Elchie walks on. And it's just like, dive, I guess, to the whatever that is. I also don't remember, but it's the thing that looks really scary in the river.
Very well. He just leaps off immediately. and starts flying. It's a lot more sort of bumpy than the sparrow because he's a little bigger. And yeah, you kind of meet in the air. Susie and Apple, you've seen this going on as well. So you're kind of all a little group. You see swooping in Edgar carrying a
You're like, wait, this is not how we left you.
he flies like this. At all times.
Perfect. Incredible.
So a figure skater, like gliding
Exactly,
across
yeah.
the ice is just.
Goth figure skater.
Oh God, goth figure. I didn't think I needed that phrase in my life, but thank you, Taylor.
I'm off to end a rivalry, which they're like shaking their snake thing, so it kind of seems like they're going to like end someone's life.
Apple is like, I do not see. I choose not to see. Whatever happens, happens. Yeah. But I think Apple wants to go and get, assuming like just kind of being like, Elchie's got this covered. Elchie and Susie as well. And I think Apple wants to take a sparrow and fly over to start getting charcoal, because thinking like maybe if we can sprinkle this on Albertine and the
idea.
Wolves, then that'll help.
Absolutely.
As you go, I had a thought about that as well. That I thought, I mean, Tabitha wouldn't abandon Elchie in their hour of heroism, but after that, I'm wondering if we can find. Tabitha's thinking about this, and just for expediency, I guess, like I don't know what conversations we'll have when. If there's some kind of tarp or like a tarpaulin or something that Saskia maybe uses to keep the wood dry, the way that we sometimes do in a garden, we could maybe get the sparrows to pick it up to scoop up like a good amount of the charcoal, because it's going to be easier than trying to pick up tiny little sparrow-sized pieces if we like scoop it up and then drop it.
Maybe, I don't know if the sparrows could carry this, but I don't know if this would work. But I just had the idea of like how firefighters like will scoop up a bunch of water from like a river or something, but scooping up, getting like a watering can and having water and then putting the charcoal into that. And I don't know if that would work. I don't know if the charcoal
might get
would
stuck, but I think the idea of the tarpaulin is good. I think there was one by the log pile, so it's a little singed, but it's still working. And maybe you had this thought, Tabitha, as you were coming out the tree, so you can have called, and so there's a host of sparrows and magpies, and the other ravens are all coming to scoop up this tarpaulin, and Apple, you can come and sort of direct as well. And yeah, you can be bringing this huge tarpaulin full of now charcoal wooden bits over towards the river. What is Susie doing as well, seeing this starting to happen?
So could I possibly, because I'm trying to get a full understanding of what is happening, bullet point of what is just going on at this moment.
So the wood has burnt and is ready to go in the river as charcoal. Tabitha and Apple are coordinating with the birds to get that and tip it in. Meanwhile, because of the fireworks, Albertine fell out of his boat and is in the water. He's covered in potion, so he can't get out very easily. And you see the shape, finally, of a trout coming towards him. The Jaws music is playing. And Elchie is going to go and help.
Not for any particular reason. What's the blast radius on a goal bomb?
On an acorn.
Not an acorn launcher, on one of the bombs that we had. What is the blast radius on one of those?
Are you thinking of bombing the trout?
Yes.
And kind of miss the voles? I think you can sort of dambuster style bounce it onto the trout so it doesn't hit the voles. Yeah. It'll cause like a little bit of a wave for them, but not like a flooding wave like in the vision, but yeah.
About to say, am I the one who started?
Yeah, just to
the mission?
clarify. As I was saying,
All
I was
of
like,
you
not
were
like
worried
that.
about the fox and the humans, but in
It was
truth,
Susie
it
all
was
along.
Susie all along.
But yeah, you could hit the trout
foreshadowed.
without hitting the voles.
She I think she pulls out the bomb, which is probably around her size or like a good chunk of whatever her size and body mass is. She's like, okay, this works. And then just like goes with one of the sparrows. Elchie, look out below. And just chucks it in the direction of the trout. I think it's very
fly past
clear
the
what I am
voles.
throwing.
Yes. Okay.
Because I didn't use my bomb because we took out the
No, you
fox so
didn't.
quickly. I
Excellent.
didn't use mine.
Yes, might as well use it now. Okay, roll a d20 on that damage. As it goes off under the water.
I
Or the-
really
or the
don't want a
boats.
natural 20 on this right now. Oh, thank God. It was a natural 20, but it was cocked, so it's still cocked. The dice. 7. 7, thank God. 7.
Great. Cool. Let's see how this trout feels about that. Fails its will save. So you see the trout flinches away and then is like, it's not worth it, and swims back off up river and hides under the bridge in the distance. Albertine's still flailing about, but there is no longer a trout trying to eat him. So Elchie, yeah, Susie's flown down, done this, cleared the way for you, and you're flying down to Albertine.
Cool. Yeah, I think Elchie is gonna try to use their snake fang sword to like cut them out of the sticky part of the potion, because he said they were like kind of sticking to it, right?
Yeah.
So trying to like just rip through all the like sticky bits that are there to see if they can get out.
It's sort of like chewing gum strands, yeah, and you can kind of cut
exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I think you can do that. So yeah, you carefully get Albertine out. His paws are still kind of sticky, but he's therefore able to kind of swim slightly away from the main chunk of potion and back towards the roots. Do you say anything as you're doing this?
Yeah, I think
he's like,
come in flying. They're like, I'm coming for you, Albertine, which kind of sounds like a threat as they're flying in on a raven.
I don't want to fight with you anymore, Elchie.
Albertine's like, no, I
kind of free himself
with this. Yeah, and like kind of cuts through, and I think if we're pretty close to the water, just kind of jumps off the raven to go and try to help Albertine, but still like pulls out their swords. It looks like I'm like, no, I'm gonna finish this.
Okay, I do think jumping off a raven into a boat near some water is a little risky. So just do me a dex save to try and land in one of the boats rather than the river.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll deal with some of the carbon coming in as well.
Okay. I got a 2 and my dex is a 10. Okay.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, you land in one of the little
goodness.
willow reed gondolas, and then you're able to, and he's like, please don't hurt me. Swoosh. And you can cut through. And as his paws come through, he's like, thank you. I thought we hated each other, but it doesn't seem that way.
I also thought, up until this moment, I also kind of wasn't sure where I stood with you. I just also didn't want you to get turned into cats or extremely large.
Oh,
everything is cats is what I've learned recently.
Oh, well, I'm not a cat. And Elchie, I had a very strange talk with your friend the other day, and it made me think about a lot of things. I don't want to try and, you just saved me. I don't want to fight with you over some silly musical instrument insults anymore. What do you say? Should we call it quits?
I think so. I also don't have that instrument anymore. So part of my pride about that is just gone because I trashed that. And like pulls out their new clarinet and just starts playing. I don't know.
That
like,
sounds much
just
better,
like
much less rude. And as you're playing and you've been trying to like manipulate your hand, because obviously it has the snake fang attached, and you're trying to play and you're like, wow, it feels easier because the snake fang sword starts to loosen from your paw as you have I believe the requisite was made up with a mortal enemy.
Yeah.
Make lasting peace with a mortal enemy. And yeah, as Albertine starts to sort of swim back towards the willow roots, yeah, you feel the sword loosen and start to sort of tingle magically as well, because it now has its magical effect restored as well.
Yeah.
And you're able to slot it into a little scabbard on your belt or on your banjo.
Yes.
And play the tune properly.
Are you listening,
which point
Albertine? This is for you. As he like swims away.
Thank you. He swims away. At which point, presumably, there's a large ploosh as loads of carbon twigs are dropped into the river as Apple and Tabitha come back. Is there anywhere in particular you want to put it? You can kind of see the sources from upstream if you sort of fly along.
I mean, Taylor, unless I've got an idea, right? But
Yeah, I want to hear it.
okay, because I think it would be really funny if Tabitha was approaching this like putting dusting icing sugar on top of a pastry. So she's kind of like, all right, so what we want to do is we want to get it nice and even. We don't want any awkward lumps or anything. We want to make sure we got a good spread. We don't want to over sprinkle, but we want to make sure that everywhere has just got enough of that spice and flavor in it that it's really gonna like just be there with every bite. Okay, so no, you on the left. No, you see you're making a lump. You're making a lump. So I'm gonna need you to go a bit further to the left. All right, there we go. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, and if you just jiggle a little bit as you go, you should shake some of the like little crumbs out of it so it'll be a finer powder. And you see that's
you hear one of the ravens going, "This is so undignified."
Well, you know what? Frankly, Victor, I know how you feel about it, but actually baking is a fine art, and this isn't the kind of sprinkling that would win a Basildon like actual cake show. So, you know, if we're gonna be winning this next year, then I'm gonna need you to get your game face on, your game beak on.
Okay, my name's Cassandra, but okay.
I'm really sorry.
But all right.
You look like a Victor.
You look like a Victor.
I'll take it. Okay.
Elchie's right. I'm sorry. It's just listen. If you ever want a stage name, I suggest.
I'll consider it. Woo. Okay, so yeah, you beautifully sprinkle the carbon across the river, and as you do, yeah, it's I think because you made it so small, it quickly dissolves into the water and therefore into the potion, and you see the potion changes color, and sort of from that horrible bright and green purple, and the cheesy smell of the potion that's been you realize it's been permeating the whole area, and you've kind of gotten used to it, but you realize it starts to go away, and the air clears as the potion turns to a sort of colorless color. It's clear, and yeah, starts to sort of dissipate into the river, and yeah, Albertine's able to pull himself out as it washes off of his fur. The trout that's been kind of swimming around, you see that also kind of like shakes itself out and goes to sort of go back to feeding under the bridge more normally, and you hear downstream the croaking of the frogs as they finish washing themselves off as well, and the river is clean. The potion has been removed.
He did it.
You also just look across at Apple and say, by the way, Apple, that frog that you sent back to Basildon Hall, he's not dead. It's all okay.
That's good. I wonder what happened to him.
Well, we saw him helping his friends, so I'm assuming maybe perhaps he saw a friend in emergency on the road and he knew as a good frog that, you know, he had an obligation to his fellow frog.
I suppose that makes sense. I think I need to get my 3 pips back from him, though, in that case.
Really not a good telegram frog.
And I mean, I think, you know, perhaps like there's gonna have to be like not the best review on Trip Spider, like, you know, the spider that goes around and gives people reviews about like kind of the service of different people. Maybe you need to tell, like, to put it on the web, you know, on her web.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go have to talk to that frog and get my pips back, and then we'll see from there. I don't want him to be punished too harshly.
You're a very, very, very kind mouse apple. I've always thought so.
We all make mistakes, you know. I don't want to tank his reviews.
You see also as the potion clears, you see Saskia in human form run up to the end of her garden, which goes onto the stream, and also claps for you at all of you in the sky as she sees you flying past and is like, clap, 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 clap. And is just very excited that you managed to do it.
Yeah, I think Apple maybe conveys to Elchie and Tabitha about like what was decided about Merida, and that maybe we should talk to Saskia and find out you know what she can do, if she can actually
Sure.
do the thing that we said that
Yeah.
we would ever do.
So this would involve a bit of writing and things, so we'll sort of like, yeah, you fly down and she brings out a little pocket notebook having discussed this with you, and you're able to sort of carefully go back and forth and describe your idea. And she basically says that yes, it is possible for her to, now she's cleaned up the potion, the basic potion, how it's supposed to work and used to work for her is she can use an amount and decide therefore how long it's going to last, basically. And normally she'd therefore be able to turn back when she wanted, but yeah, it was Merida coming in and arguing with her and tipping stuff in that caused it to cause problems in the first place. So now it's fixed, she can give you an amount of potion to turn something into something else for as long or as short amount of time as needed. She does say that she suggests you don't do it forever for Merida, because that would be a bit mean to have her stuck as a mouse forever.
What do you mean stuck as a mouse? I
Yeah,
don't see why
what
it's
do
so
you-
bad
Oh,
to
I'm
be
sure
a
you
mouse.
all like being mouse, but you know, when I was a cat, it does feel weird being a cat when I'm used to being a human. So
There's just a
I
bunch of
recommend-
scrawls all over each other. Like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, we all get really
yeah, you start
angry.
arguing over the pencil. She's like,
She
Oh,
just
it would
starts
be
hearing the
horrible to be a mouse.
Yes.
Go
You
ahead.
just we just hear the like angriest, tiniest clarinet playing, like for Saskia. It's just like
I was
combat
just,
jazz.
I was just imagining like the tiniest mouse version of whenever you're like in a Discord server or like you're text messaging someone and you see multiple people are writing,
Yeah.
and you just see the note at the bottom.
Exactly.
Maybe she's drawn like a little cross section so you can all, and you all have a little pencil so you can write in your respective sections. So it's like, it's like okay. Well, no, there's nothing wrong with being a mouse. I'd like to try being a mouse at some point. That would be very fun. But yeah, just, you know, maybe you should decide how long you want it to be.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
she
do.
did that for you.
I think maybe if there's like I don't know like what the timeline is on this, but maybe like there's some flying back and forth between like
Yeah.
the observatory mice and like figuring out like, okay,
Yeah.
do we want this to be like a parole situation where it's like we turn her into a
Check
mouse
in, yeah.
for like 4 months and then see how she's doing and decide if we want to keep her a mouse for another 4 months or whatever it ends up being.
I mean, it depends on how long foxes live for, right? But because you
That's a
could
good
say like a
question.
year, but if we say like a year for a mouse is a long time. But I don't know how long.
Foxes generally live up to 9 years. On average, foxes only survive between 1 and 3 years. Similar to a mouse. But let's say percentage, like think of it as like a percentage rather than necessarily years in that case, maybe.
Maybe like seasons instead.
Yeah, exactly. Like 1 season,
yeah.
2 seasons.
I mean, there's a certain poetry in saying, I mean, just for a season that she stays that way until spring, and then with new life she can try again.
Winter is an exceptionally hard time to be a mouse, so maybe that'll be enough of a taste for her to understand.
Plus,
Saskia think
hopefully,
that's a good idea as well, and she says she can always check in as well, and when she's having a walk through the woodlands.
maybe she'll see something nice about being a mouse. I mean, we have spiced pies and mulled cider, and we have ways to get through the dark and the cold, and we hold together and we're on blankets and things. Perhaps it won't only be suffering. Perhaps she'll come to care a little for our way of life.
She was living out on her own. Maybe it'll be interesting for her to live in a log where there's a bunch of other creatures there. Maybe that's why she was so grumpy, because she was just by herself.
I think, I mean, Tabitha at least looks at Elchie and hears them say that and thinks about the fact that Elchie is a person who was alone for a really long time and traveled a lot and kind of came to our little village, and it just kind of steps closer and bumps your shoulder with her shoulder. Yeah.
Elchie's just having like a moment. I don't know, maybe it's just really weird being by yourself. I don't think everyone really likes it.
Okay. I think this might be an interesting point to sort of move this forward. You've kind of got a general idea now. You think you'd like Merida to try out being a mouse for a season over the winter, work with the Virtue Mice to see what they were going through. I think that sounds good if you're all happy with that. And I think maybe Merida kind of wakes up a little bit. Actually, no, I think maybe do you want to turn her into a mouse so she wakes up as a mouse, sort of Gulliver's Kingdom style, like, where am I? Surrounded by all the other mice. Or do you want to talk to her first?
I think turning her into a mouse without talking to her is funny. And I think Apple at least doesn't see this as a punishment. Like, Apple doesn't see this as like, we're gonna
just
turn
seeing
her
it from
into
the other side, yeah.
Yeah, like, because we think it would be a valuable experience, and we all like being mice, so I think Apple is like, this will be nice. This will be like a vacation. But whatever other people want to do, this is also fine with me.
I think that sounds good to me. I think, yeah, Elchie is also in that same state of mind of like this is already a thing we've kind of decided, so let's just do it.
And I am going to say, like, out of character, like, she's not going to be like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Like, my life is ruined. She's going to be annoyed, but like, it's not like, oh, this is the worst. Like, this is terrible, you know, just to sort of say, like, I think she'll be okay with it in the long run, basically.
It's
just
also
to sort of,
yeah, and it's also worth saying, logistically, if we don't turn her now, then trying to make a fox do something it doesn't want to do when we are tiny little mice will be really hard.
So yeah, I think she's going to be shocked, but she's not going to be like, oh, it's terrible. She's going to be like, oh, okay, right, can't eat people now. So, like, this is weird. Guess I got to get used to it. But yeah, okay, so we'll kind of go through that scene. So yeah, Saskia mixes up the potion, and you see a cool transformation. Merida shrinks down into a little ginger mouse, keeping the same markings, little like white muzzle and little white paws, and her tail is white as well, but then her body is ginger, and her little dog harness has turned into sort of like a little sort of combat jacket. And then you see the little bow that she had is back on her head now between two big mouse ears, which are also still splattered in paint. And one's a little bit fried from some of that acid damage earlier, but otherwise doing okay. And therefore the big ropes that were kind of holding her together as a fox drop off her. So when she wakes up initially, she's like, "Ha ha! I can get you all!" And then her voice is way squeakier than before. She's like, "What's going on? What's happening?
Why are you all huge?
Why
is everyone so big?
Why does everyone have a problem with the paws?
You already had paws.
These are different paws.
They're nice. They're really nice.
was going to eat all of you, but now you're the same size as me. This isn't fair.
I think taking in all of this, you just see Susie very calmly walk up to her. Hello,
You,
friend.
you were the mouse I talked to you before.
Yes, we made a contract with you. The goal was that we were supposed to get you some of the potion. I believe we have satisfied that agreement. And she has like the biggest. If anyone has seen Spy X Family and seen Anya's like
Yeah.
just kind of shit-eating grin face that she makes every now and then, it's the biggest. It's the only time you've ever seen like Susie have that face, but it's a look of just pure, like, I may not be evil, but I will indulge in mischief on some occasions, and I think this is the one.
Just start sort of like, no. But yes, and she didn't eat any of you. So she technically upheld her end as well.
Yeah,
So
that's
contract
why.
fulfilled.
Technically, we both upheld our ends of the bargain. She didn't eat any of us. We got her the potion. That's
And the pure version of the potion.
exactly.
I think Bree has come over with a little like blanket and some food and things and wraps it around Merida and is like, you're going to be staying with us for a little while. And it's going to be weird at first, but hopefully you're going to see things from a different perspective, and offers her some observatory mushroom soup. And Merida's initially like, I am quite hungry actually. This is quite nice, actually. Better than raw mouse. That's for sure. And I think Saskia's also kneeled down and she's written a note, because obviously, again, you can't really understand her in human form, which sort of basically says, like, I'm sorry that we had to do this to you, Merida, but it was the way to keep the forest safe. And hopefully by doing this, you'll come to understand why we need to work together as a forest rather than you working against everyone else. And when you do turn back into a fox, maybe you'll want to work with us more. And maybe if you learn some responsibility in a year or so, you could even have a go at being a human for a little bit under close supervision. Yeah. And so Merida kind of calms down a little, sort of like, okay, resigned to my fate. And is, yeah. Do you want to say anything else to her before the observatory might sort of usher her away into the log?
I think Apple goes over and says, I know you're probably not super happy about this right now, but
No, I'm not.
well, I do think it's nice to be a mouse, and I do think it's nice to have friends. And so we aren't doing anything to try to hurt you, and you might not believe that now, but I think you've only ever known the feeling of wanting to try to hurt people who don't do what you want, but that's not really what mice do. And maybe that's something that you'll learn while you're a mouse.
That's very true. I guess I've never really known there were other options. So guess I'll have to learn them now. And that's sort of as close as she manages to get for now to sort of acknowledging it. But she's like, I guess there might be other options.
I think Elchie puts a paw on her shoulder and it's just like, I think we've all learned today that we should really pay a lot more attention to what our contracts say, because there's just a lot of ways around them, is what I'm learning. And just kind of like solemnly patting your back. Because Elchie also famously does not check their contracts at all.
Yes. In the future, Elchie, when you're offered your little troubadour contracts, you're gonna have to read that small print.
She's just taking them to Susie. If you were to break this, how would you do it?
My student, like, you just see her, like, for some reason she suddenly now has like a tax accountant's like outfit on, and she's like, well, if we look at this in quite detail, actually you're not even getting royalties for this. You're getting only a set amount per. You've only asked for a set amount of acorns per album. You do know how much it costs to actually produce one of these, right?
I love acorns. I don't know.
Well, right, but you should be asking for at least a minimum. Like the union minimums are like 3 or 4 acorns per album. Like this is we need to take this up with like the Mouse Music Union.
Oh, she's just like, this is why you do that. I don't know half the things you're saying. I just keep those acorns coming.
Trust me, if you let me handle this, you'll have acorns till the day you die, and probably a couple days after that too.
Be buried with my acorns.
So Susie and Elchie now discussing contract law, wandering away as Merida is guided into the log. Was there anything Tabitha wanted to add as well before she heads off, or you've already said your piece?
Yeah, I think it just Tabitha like elbows Azalea and gets her to help her like pour a cup of cider, and offers it to Merida, and it's like, I think perhaps you could use a drink.
Pretty good, actually.
I have an inn in Basildon Hall, and if you ever, once you've settled in here and you've learned a little, perhaps, we've got great beds and good reviews. So, you can stay a night. This isn't about hate or resentment. It's just about knowing that we all live in the same place, and we gotta keep it alive because we got nowhere else we can go.
Am I back?
Yes.
Sorry about that. It's always this time of night my internet decides it doesn't want to play. Sorry, where you had just been saying you were offering her to come to the inn. Was
Yeah,
anything...
and
you've said it, but if you want to quickly summarize it for me, but everyone else has said it.
Well, yes, I just said that like we all live in the same place, and we all got to find a way to keep it alive because we don't have anywhere else that we can go. Not even Merida.
Lovely. Oh, and we just got a raid from Kyrell, we'll say. Thank you very much for joining us. We're just wrapping up our Mice Ritter campaign. And in fact, I think that brings us to a good point where we could look into the future a little bit. So Merida is escorted into the observatory over the next couple of weeks or so. She kind of gets used to being there, and you do see her with some of the observatory mice open up as well to kind of talk more with the Basildon Hall mice as well. So we're gonna kind of go into the future a little bit. What do our mice get up to after all of these exciting ordeals? JC Darcy, our lovely producer, could you gently play some of Angela's lovely music? And we're going to do a little scene where basically I want to hear what each of you kind of gets up to at Basildon Hall as we go into the end of autumn. So when you get back to celebrate, Lady Periwinkle has organised a big harvest festival, and Saskia has also bought from the house a little for a human, a very large for mice, a cheese board, and some little grapes and little things to add to your larders, and has a little note basically saying you're always welcome to come and look in the store cupboards if you ever need anything, and has also left Tabitha a little flagon of whiskey for Tabitha to try, which is quite large and would therefore work very well in the inn for several weeks, you think, as well. So, and the final little bit that I'm going to say for what's happening at Basildon is Lady Periwinkle also ding 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 makes a little announcement to thank all of you. She sort of gathers you all around and she says thank you so much to our amazing mice, Tabitha, Apple, Susie and Elchie, for your brave actions in helping to keep Basildon Hall safe. She also says that Susie is going to be, if she likes, be reinstated as Basildon Hall's librarian after showing daring courage and sensible headedness in the face of book care and prophecy maintenance. And also, she says, Apple, we've been in talks with the Vols, and they have provided you with a new pottery wheel, so you may expand on your blacksmithing and pottery business. And Tabitha, we have decided that we're going to bring forth some of the pips from our supplies so that you may do some improvements for the Applewood Inn. And finally, Elchie, and she turns to reveal a little stage has been built out of some bits of plywood. We would be honoured if you would be our resident performer. We've got a small stipend of pips for you. If you would bless us with some of your music, especially on your new clarinet I've heard that you acquired. And so that's Periwinkle's announcement. Oh, and one more thing. She says, and I have a little announcement of my own. And she holds out a paw, and you see Lovage comes up on the stage, and she reveals on her paw a little ring. Lovage and I, we decided in our older age we should rekindle some love between us, and we're going to be married in the spring. Lovage is off the market.
Apple feels so conflicted.
Yeah, you see all the mice are like, good for you, but no.
No. The most eligible bachelor.
Oh no.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is I would love to hear, what in the next we just lost Rue. We might be moved around a little bit, but we'll keep going. I want to hear what your character kind of gets up to in the next, like just sort of over the next few weeks as you go into the end of autumn and into winter. And does with your newfound confidence after adventuring. So we'll go to Rue when she comes back, but let me move us to a new screen as we do this. It should be empty right now. But first of all, let me get on the right layer. I think we'll start. Well, does anyone want to start with a little? Any ideas of what you want to do, or should I pick?
I've got an idea. If no one else has, but I am also very happy to wait because I'm really excited to see what everyone says.
Yeah. Okay. I think we should go first. So, let me just reveal something for you. Token layer. There we go. So Tabitha, you'll see a little drawing on the Roll20. Tabitha, tell us, what does Tabitha get up to in the next couple of weeks? Sorry,
I'm really
just bring that on you.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Your art is so beautiful. Oh man. Okay. Ooh, okay. Ooh. All right. I think the first thing that Tabitha does is have dinner with Azalea and thank her for coming with her, because she knows that Azalea retired from adventuring because she was really scared. And she knows that Azalea came with her partly because she owed her, but also because they're friends. And so I think that Tabitha and Azalea just have a night as good friends where they share, like, you know, some cider and they have a meal together. And Tabitha asks Azalea about the old days and they have a nice evening. I think then over the next few weeks, Tabitha starts to experiment with the whiskey that Saskia gave us, and starts to experiment with using the whiskey in cooking, like tiny little bits, almost like a chemist in the way that sometimes cooking and baking can be, and just like ever such tiny drops to start making new little puddings, and essentially creates little Christmas puddings out of raisins and whiskey and bits of flour and these like tiny round little Christmas pudding things. Which she experiments with but keeps secret, and she's like very, very secretive about it for quite a long time because she wants to perfect it before she unrolls this new part of the menu. I think that the last thing that she does, and I don't know if we're mice, so I don't know that we celebrate Christmas, but a midwinter festival of some kind.
Yeah.
She invites, you know, her dear friends, around to have a meal with her, and with like roasted nuts and a nut loaf. But for a mouse, a nut loaf is literally a slice of walnut, kind of baked, and marinated with salt and bits of honey and maple syrup and things like that, and kind of made caramelized, and then brings out these little Christmas puddings and does the whole setting it on fire thing, because by this point she's figured out how to do that too, and she's very proud of this kind of trick. She thinks that it's going to bring in people from all over, but the big thing that happens,
I think it definitely does.
yeah, oh amazing, oh she's going to be so
Bowls
happy.
are in, Albertine's in, some of the observatory mice come, even Merida sits at the end of the table. Some of the frogs even.
Tabitha writes everyone little place cards, including Merida. And on Merida's there's a little picture of a little fox face. But I think that the big thing that happens is with the money that Lady Periwinkle gives to improve the Applewood Inn, Tabitha expands the Applewood Inn a little bit, and opens a new room. And at the end of the evening, she takes you all into this kind of room that's been under construction for a few weeks, which for mice is a few months, I guess. Like, what I'd like to say that she's done is on the wood paneling all around the room, she has been, over a lot of time with a lot of effort and care, kind of carving the story, like the story of our adventure. And on the threshold over the door, there's these 4 little mice, which are the 4 of us, with their packs on their backs, going on an adventure, and with Azalea as well. And there's, there's a Merida, and there's a Saskia in cat form and human form,
Yeah.
and there's a fly, which looks terrifying and inappropriate for the mural otherwise. And there's a slug, and there's a frog, and there's Albertine the otter, and just like there's this when you walk in, and there's a kind of inscription over the door frame, and it says, welcome to the Applewood Inn, home of Basildon Hall's 4 greatest, bravest adventurers and closest friends.
Love it. That is lovely. Okay, so that's what Tabitha gets up to. Who wants to go next?
I think I know what Apple is up to.
Okay. I'll just
Um,
remove Tabitha for a
Oh
moment.
yeah. I was so taken away by that I forgot about the art.
Next up, Apple.
Oh my gosh.
Huge!
So cute. Philippa, this is so good. I think Apple had been wanting to work on pottery anyway, and so was like very excited about this pottery wheel and everything. But takes it as an excuse to go back to traveling a little bit more, because Apple had already like had maybe been in Basildon for a while, but like wanted to go around and learn different different craft like methods and things from different people for the blacksmithing, because she's always liked the like fiddly little like ornate stuff. And so I think she goes to Willowroot Market and like goes to see the frogs and things like that, partially because she wants to like find where she can find the best clay and find where she can find like the best like rocks and oxides and things like that to make like different glazes and like learn different techniques and things like that, but also to see how much languagey things that she can pick up.
Yes.
And I think considers herself to be like kind of a natural at picking up other languages. But I think has just as much, if not more, trouble with like idioms and things like that. Like she already has a problem with that in mouse language.
Oh no, but now in other languages.
Yes. So now she's like, there's a lot of
Yes.
misunderstandings.
There's a great confusion with the frogs at one point. It was a terrible mix-up.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing that she does is once she kind of knows what she's doing with the pottery, because she wants to make sure these are very good, is she makes little cider mugs for each of us, and I think they're in different colors. So I think that Elchie's is like kind of a goldenrod yellow color, and I think that Tabitha's is kind of like not like a bright red like an apple, but like kind of like a dark burgundy kind of like almost browny red color. And I think Susie's is like a sky blue. And and I think she makes one for Azalea that's like a very like hot pink. And has everyone like have a little mug that she makes for cider for all of us.
Maybe delivers at the winter festival.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that's like,
Little
yeah,
presents.
passing them out to everybody.
Oh, wonderful, amazing. Okay, Elchie or Susie?
I can go. I think Elchie I think they run their new troubadour residency by Susie a little bit, because I think Elchie is a little like, I can't be tied down to one location. I'm a free mouse. And so like has some things built in to maybe like go off adventuring for a little bit.
So
Oh no, I totally missed. I forgot that. Oh my god, look at her.
Toot toot.
So good. Oh, I love the sword. Yeah, I also think so they're going around traveling a bit, and I think after the whole kind of coming to terms with their relationship with Albertine, they're like, I've got to go and fix all these other mortal enemies that I've made. I've got to make it right by them. But also like keeps really hoping that like the way that they can come to terms is by using this really cool snake fang sword that they have. So every time they like go to help someone, they're like, oh well, yeah, if you could help me out with this my house is like breaking down. They're like, with my sword? And they're like, no, actually, I just kind of needed some help with these materials. If you could do, and they're like, okay, I guess I could do that. But with like every person they come across, they're like, are you sure you don't have like something I could stab for you? Okay, I guess not. And comes back after like a short stint of like repairing a few relationships, and they're like, that's good enough for now. It's always good to have a mix of friends and mortal enemies. You never want too much of one or the other. Keeps you balanced is what she's like. She's telling Lovage, who she's like talking their ear off. Well, yes. I'm sure they like were coming to her for like, maybe you could play music at the wedding, and they're like, let me tell you my theory about keeping balance between your enemies and your friends. And they're like, your clarinet.
Yes. Very good, yes.
And I think like as they're performing, they make a little song about their adventure, like a little kind of tribute. Like they're like, I read in a book once that when you go on an adventure, you really want a song written about you. And so they have like a song that tells like the highlights of their adventure and like features each person, and she like changes the music a little bit for each of the mice. There's like kind of like a cozy vibe to like Tabitha's music, like a little jazzy, and then Apple Fritters is a little more like almost like rock kind of music vibe to it, like as they're like coming out and going into combat like with the pheasant. And then with Susie, it's a little more like it slows down and is a little more like experimental and kind of solemn. And has just kind of like, and she has like a little bit for Azalea too, that like instead of a section, it like pips up in everybody else's sections every once in a while. They're like, that's what I remember about Azalea. It just like popped up out of nowhere every once in a while.
And what's
I
Elchie's
think.
section sound like?
Oh, I think LG's section, I feel like they forgot about it until like the night before, and they're like, oh no, I should have myself in here too. And their section, I think is sort of like more of like an experimental jazz section, like where it's kind of like they're throwing in a lot of new music, and there's some mice that are like, ooh, that's music, all right. There's a lot happening there, a little bit of a cacophony of sounds.
It's quite chaotic, but I like it somehow.
She's just like stops for a little bit. It's new, I'm trying something new, and then goes back to it.
We like it. Oh, amazing. Does that get played at the winter? I'm imagining all these things are starting to come together.
Yeah, I think it's played at the festival. Elchie promptly takes it out of the wedding list, like music playlist. They're like, that seems a little kind of encroaching into their space.
Maybe. I also think at the winter festival, like there's been some like fireflies corralled to make little sort of fairy lights and things, and so you're on the stage and it's all lit up by them, and everyone's like, yeah, and then getting little mugs of hot cocoa off Tabitha. But yeah. Okay. And last but by no means least, what does Susie get up to?
I'm gonna wait for this artwork before I start, because I'm
let's,
gonna be distracted the moment I see this artwork.
Oh, here we go, Susie.
I'm prepared for this. I know I'm prepared for this. Oh, she's so little and cute, and she looks so hairy. Oh, she's got a little bird drawing on the artwork. Oh, I love her. She's so adorable. Yeah, I was not prepared. I lied. I think Elchie actually finally takes some time to get more used to like settle down in the place in Basildon Hall. Yes, I agree with chat. The tail tuft was making me very happy. But I think there's a part of her that's a little uneasy about so much of the attention that she gets after all of this, because she's used to when people don't think of her well. That's something she's kind of used to, or like just kind of ignore her. And then she's used to like her friends and stuff, but having so much attention is a lot. So I think as a result of coping with some of that, I think she just starts to take time, instead of just documenting things that she reads and stuff, I think she starts writing her own things for once. And then if Ella is okay, I was thinking of one small thing to share that Susie wanted to share with Tabitha before she brought it to the rest of the group. Because I think in my head as a player, and also I think Susie has just always felt like Tabitha's always been one of the few consistent people besides like Elchie and Apple to just be like, you are weird. That's okay. Enjoy being that weird. And yeah, and I think she just comes over like at one spot, like it's probably like in the middle of the night too, because that's just kind of Susie's thing. She just shows up at very random hours. She in no way understands what executive function is when it comes to planning times out to actually see friends. But it's just like a little knock on the door. Just probably everyone's asleep at that moment.
You hear like shuffling inside and come out. I have a little like mouse like bed hat on and a little nightie, and little like bed socks, and I'm like, oh, Susie, come in if you'd like to. I'll put some cocoa on.
Dogs, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for never making me feel like a bother. It's really great. It's taking a lot to get used to not being thought of by other people, that the way that I think or move through the world is kind of off, or just not in sync with everybody. Thanks for doing that for me. And can I show you a little thing that I wrote?
I would love that.
It's not very long, and I still don't really quite know how this whole like poetry thing kind of goes. But Angela, the player, has actually been writing something while certain stuff was going down. That's why I was occasionally looking back and down. I was just like, and like she just like hums like a little tune, like that's probably very inspired by some of the stuff that Elchie's done, and she like taps a pattern that she's probably heard while listening to the way that blacksmithing and pottery work is being done in Apple Fritter's place. With everything we've been through, from murky waters to the morning dew, we've taken flight to scary heights and felt the scares of trials paired with love of cider and music sweet. Successful tale all troubles beat. I cannot help be proud to be a mouse in gardens of herbs and trees.
I think Tabitha kind of fishes a handkerchief out of the pocket of her nightie and dabs her eyes, and then she puts like one of her paws on your little mousy cheek, and she looks at you and she's like, Susie, you are not an item that we put on the shelf. You're a person, and you're alive. And that means you don't have any job or service or use to hold. You just have to be alive. And you just have to live and eat and laugh and love in whatever way you feel comfortable doing. And we are lucky that you happen to be living in the same place as we are. I don't want you to change yourself or adjust yourself or transform yourself, because what you are right now and who you are right now is so much more interesting and more beautiful.
Oh, friend, I don't have to worry about that, because in the winter of my sadness and loneliness, I have found in my life and with my friends like you a summer of happiness and warmth and love to carry me forward. And reading, and good reading too. One must never forget good reading. And then she just sort of like plops down, like to enjoy the cocoa, as though she, like, once again, as has been her MO, as though she has not said anything profound or sweet or anything. And I think that's it for her. That's just a moment with a friend, just her feeling sweet and happy in the world.
I think like
Wonderful.
as we kind of like close the scene, you just see like as I pick up my cocoa, just Tabitha just kind of pats her head, just like kind of like fondly, just kind of scruffs the top of her head, doesn't say anything.
That was beautiful. I'm genuinely like tearing up a little bit. That was so lovely. So yeah, all our mice are together in Basildon Hall, enjoying the winter solstice, listening to Elchie's beautiful tunes, drinking lovely hot cocoa and cider, and maybe some Christmas pudding. Eating some Christmas pudding and enjoying it in Apple's mugs. And yeah, Susie presumably shares out her poem a little bit, going around and enjoying everyone's company. And that seems like a good place to say is the end of the story for now. That was so wonderful. Thank you everyone for your beautiful, beautiful epilogues there. Okay, we're a little bit over, but that's okay. It's the last one. We'll wrap it up now. So thank you, our lovely audience, for joining us for the Mice of Basildon Hall, the Mice in the Herb Garden. I'm just overwhelmed. That was so wonderful. I'm so impressed with all of you. I'm so happy to have played with you. To finish up, so we've been playing Mouse Ritter by Isaac Williams. And we've been playing Mice in the Herb Garden. This is our last session, but you never know, in the future maybe we'll come back at some point. We'll see. But what I'd love us to do is go around and everyone tell us who you are and where we can find you, and just for the time's sake, just one thing that you're doing at the moment that you'd like to tell everyone about. So go on my screen again. So Ella.
Okay. I'm Ella Watts, pronouns are she, her. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at GEJ Watts. And I kickstarted a game last year called Upriver Downriver, which is about queerness and found family and a big magical river full of nature and coming to terms with life and death. And we are just towards the end of production on that. So if you would like to check that out, then we publish it with MacGuffin and Company. I think there's a link in the chat. And you should by December, January be able to get the PDF or even the hard copy. So if you like my approach to storytelling, maybe check that out.
Exciting. I believe I was one of the Kickstarters. I'm very excited and looking forward to that. Next on my list, in same order, Angela.
Hello there, lovelies. I've been blessed to bring you the very odd but hopefully enjoyable nature of Susie Fayhart. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a professional writer and poet. You can find, and game designer, where you can find my works over on Voice of the Phoenix at itch.io or on Patreon at Philosophem, where I think once I finally get the next poem up, I'll be at 250 poems up on there, and along with a bunch of other songs and personal monster creations, including starting this week Monster Care Squad, monsters that I've made for the stream that I'm the GM for on Saturdays. Here, I believe is 1 p.m. EST, if I'm remembering that correctly. And I'm also the director of operations for Girls Write These Worlds, where we're in the midst of working on our first scene with a tentative January 19th point of release, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Sounds about right.
It sounds about right. But that is me. I have been blessed to be with all of you. Carry
on. Next up, Rue.
Hello everyone, I'm Rue, pronouns are she, her, and I have been Elchimaro, pronouns she, they, and I am at Cherry Drop on Twitter, where you can find links to all the stuff that I do, game design, writing, editing, and producing. And one thing coming up is I am in the Monster Care Squad show with Angela, taking my shenanigans to a new system to see what I can break. So it should be a good fun time.
Exciting. Okay, and last but not by no means least, Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor. I use she, her pronouns, and I was playing Apple Fritter, who also uses she, her pronouns. In lieu of pronoun stuff that I have going on, I'm going to mention that if you live in the United States, it's election day, and in a lot of the United States, there's still time to vote. So if you haven't yet and you are able to, please do, and I will go so far as to say, vote and don't vote for Republicans. I will mention my Twitter is Roll for Felicity, which I mention mostly because if you're having trouble figuring out your polling location or seeing what your ballot is supposed to be, things like that, I am like pretty familiar with a lot of that stuff. So if you DM me there, my DMs I believe are open right now, and I can help you figure out some of that stuff in the time that you have left to vote. Because I think it's really important to do so. And thank you everybody for watching this. It's been lovely to play this game, and I'm going to miss it very much.
Thank you. Yes, if the mice can work out how to organise themselves into a semi-democracy and vote, hopefully we all can as well. Okay, I should probably also say who I've been. I've been everyone else. My name's Philippa Moore. My pronouns are she, her. I've been playing a variety of different people in this. You can find me we've just got a raid very quickly by Sidecar Stories. Welcome. We're just finishing it. We're just saying what we've been doing and what's coming up next. So yes, if you want to find me on various places, at Mort Philippa is the best place to look. Twitter, Tumblr now, TikTok. And I have just also released a little newsletter on Substack as well, which you can find. If you go to the Twitter, there's a link tree and you can find it all there. And I also write games and supplements. For example, I wrote a Mouse Ritter one, and then very recently, literally I think yesterday, I released a Brindlewood Bay mystery called Knit One, Kill One. So if you fancy a bit of knitting cozy mysteries, you might want to check that out as well. But yeah, that's all of us, and this has been Girls Run These Worlds. Very, very, very quickly, just to finish up, because we're a little over time. Sorry, everyone. Just some quick notes. The final Girls Run These Worlds casting call of the year opens on the 23rd of November, when folk can choose from 15 holiday one-shots to round out the year's programming. So there's 5e, there's Tales from the Loop, Morkborg, Monster Hearts, there's something festive for everyone. Also, just to let you know, on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time is the premiere of Invincible Sword Coven, featuring a powerful and grim story about matriarchy, revenge, and the end of the world. And just a reminder, as we always say, if you've been enjoying this and you think, oh, I'd really like to do something with Girls Run These Worlds, don't forget to check out their Twitter, because you can send in an application to do your own story as well. But other than that, all I can say is thank you so much for joining us on this story of little mice being brave in the forest. And then with that, I think we should all say goodbye. Bye.